be very telling, Lemon. Last week, we had a lot more Elsa bans. We saw a lot more Gambit come through. Seems like once again we are shimmying back over towards the Elsa bans to try and constrain some of these mega duelists like Terra and keep them away from the Thanos era.
Yeah, both teams have that pop-off duelist. Terra versus Sloppo is going to be the thing to watch, but also their styles around the duelist. Sloppo's a lot more flank-heavy. Terra really goes in with the team, and the Invis is the first protect, which is not something you see every day.
This might try and bait a Doctor Strange ban from Na'Vi. Like we saw that Fire, it seems that a lot of their identity in week 2 coalesced around Black So being so good on that boosted up Doctor Strange, courtesy of that Psionic Vortex team up, which really buffs the E. Which is a very short cooldown as well, only 6 seconds. I would not be surprised to see Na'Vi roll out with a Doctor Strange ban, maybe deeper into their ban phase here, but they have the one-sided Gambit, which means they're probably going to be able to pull off a 2-2-2.
I would think the Mantis would be a bigger prio for someone like Sloppo, but we'll see how everything turns out. This was another match that I predicted that if there could be another upset besides the Shikigami match, it could be this one, just because Na'Vi have shown that there's cracks in the armor, and I'll just put it that way. While Fire Strays have started to really find their groove towards the end of the matches, like being competitive against the top, but still not winning a map against the top. So this is the map where, or this is the series where Fire Strays have to prove themselves that they can contend.
All right, one-sided Vanguard pool coming out now. The Fire Strays, how do they answer this? This is going to be another strategist gone. Okay, yeah, getting rid of a rogue makes a lot of sense. You do not want to see that rogue buoyed up by the Gambit team up. And it seems like Fire Strays, they have been chasing a lot when it comes to this ban draft. Like, after Gambit gets into the pool, you're like, oh, we got to get rid of a Loki. We got to get rid of a rogue. We got to try and get rid of like a viable second strategist option to try and force them onto maybe a triple strat here. Na'Vi contemplating getting rid of the Loki to make sure there's none of that vibrant vitality from Mantis, and looks like that's where they're going to go.
I'm not judging.
Remember that there's tape about Fire Strays on this map, but it was the very first match of the preseason, which you can't really take much from that, because Fire Strays, I feel like, are a completely, like, 180 team compared to how they started the season, or the preseason, I should say, while Na'Vi haven't been on Burden T'Challa, surprisingly, so there's so much yet to discover, which I think could give Na'Vi maybe an edge in this pick ban. We'll see what everyone wants to go on initially. The triple strat has been the flavor du jour, but I've been really liking that Fire Strays and Na'Vi lean more into the 2-2-2, so it's kind of looking at these, and I don't say secondaries in a derogatory way, but Jerky and Demon have been the ones that flex to the strategist to kind of pocket their carries, but this time also have to be providing those playmaking opportunities.
Sorry, you opened up in the background. So someone really wanted to get in on this Na'Vi versus Fire transaction, but I think like everyone else, lads. Ready to roll out here at the beginning of Interstellar Spaceport.
And trust me on the Venom. Would have loved to see Binary on that as well. He's a fantastic Venom player, but as of late has been more of the Hulk, that style change from Fire Strays, and oh, the teleport caught Jerky completely off guard.
Oh man, catching Jerky, didn't see that one. One of the interesting things about the portal as Daredevil is because the people that are technically so far away, you can't see through the portal with your wall. Which means that Jerky was a little bit on the back foot there, and Fire Strays is going to get that initial capture here as well. We talked about how important this is for Na'Vi to play from a defensive posture. CC, trust me, still trying to make a play to try and keep this one contested. Binary just chasing after them. We talked about how previously Na'Vi had struggled against that Hulk, but Jerky has no such struggles in his mind, going up against Demon, up close and personal. The White's just crossed towards the back, and a good chase here onto the Jeff. Going underneath, there's no way to try and dodge out against that Daredevil, who doesn't worry about crits.
I feel like I'm waking up from a nightmare. Sloppo's on Jeff? Like,
what is this?
I want to go back to bed. I want Sloppo on Star-Lord, and was setting that up. This is a very different look. Demon will be that solo duelist, and you have a strat pool. That was something Alex from another team was kind of sporting, and that innovation is going to help this death ball of Fire Strays, but Na'Vi will be holding the point first, and Terra already has a Galactic Legend watching from above and ready to unleash.
Playing further back to try and avoid that sonic pursuit and taking to the sky. There's no real way for Fire Streaks to deal with this apart from raw healing. We have Pop the Deadpool in your area, but Sloppo gets a little bit too far away. And then it's easy for the remainder of follow-up to come on through here from Na'Vi, looking very different today when it comes to their target calling. It's clean from the boys.
And for one of the first ultimates to come out to be a Galactic Legend, like Terra, he knows when to lock in when it comes to these important matches. Na'Vi have been dominant against every other team but Heretics, and I was wondering how much they were preparing for deeper into the bracket or how much Na'Vi were going to give respect to all the teams that come in between them and the grand finals that they're obviously gunning for. And Terra, that ultimate made the whole difference. Now, Fire Strays, they were kind of changing things up. Now they have their first cycle of ultimates, and you'll also have some environmental eliminations that could come out from the It's Jet, but Crook could be a victim here.
Crook needs to try and get away. The Bayou Bash to give himself a little bit of additional space and have a Raging Royal Flush, giving over even more movement so he to try and kite away from this one. Fate heads under the wall. They're going to try and meet Sloppo where they're at. And this is very dangerous for Binary here. Could easily be eaten up by that Jeff. Just following around after them. Releases his fellow Vanguard from the jaws of Jeff. And now Blacktoe's looking for an Ascension here. Looking for a quick stun on the other side. It would appear that Rajro has used a bat hammer. It might well have been onto the Jeff, just forcing Sloppo away for a second. Still Na'Vi are in control. Unwilling to TP back, knowing that both of their Vanguards are still up and kicking. Damon was overextended, and Crook's there with the punish.
This is the last fight before 100-0 for Na'Vi, and Terra has the Galactic Legend if he even wants to invest this, but against the invisible boundary, he'll have to take a seat. Fire Strays, even with that straddle, still have it flipped.
All right, one last attempt here, coming through from Snot. Oh, the healing debuff from the Venom ultimate was just so much to try and deal with. Terra somehow went down during their ultimate to a miss off the back of a banhammer. That might just have been the augmented damage that comes through from the upgrade. But Raja on the point is going to be a very tricky customer to deal with on this Deadpool. Looking towards the back, it's going to be difficult for Slopper to try and survive. Black's over, last remaining bastion of Fire Strays, igniting their lights. And Na'Vi snuff it out to claim the Stellar Spaceport.
Not just a statement, but it ends with an exclamation mark. 100-0 from Na'Vi in a fight that looked so winnable for Fire Strays. The invisible boundary. There was an endless stall from Na'Vi, just sending the single Vanguard to deny the flip from Fire Strays, who had such a good composition. They were so mobile. Fire Strays were jumping on Na'Vi's backline, trying to assassinate Crook, who used the dashes so smartly, was able to retaliate. So I like that Na'Vi are showing signs of really good composure. Of course, it is just the first map, but this is also the first best of 5 that both these teams are facing. So there's a lot to learn from that first round, and there's going to be a lot to learn as we go deeper into the series. But Fire Strays, as soon as you lose that first fight on domination and you can't lock down these targets, eventually was going to go the 99% mark. But this first fight, very important. We'll see if Blackstone wants to go for a teleport play or a portal play like Fire Strays did last time. That's how they were able to get the jump scare on Jerky. See where they end up to this time.
Jerky is prepared to let the devil out. Question is who they're going after. Seems like this is a little bit more of a passive play. Maybe that's to try and cut off someone from Na'Vi, but you know what? Trust me, it's more than happy to just jump into there with a cellular corrosion. The devil ready to be let on out, but guess what? Big bubbles, indestructible guard coming through from the Hulk just rebuffs Jerky instantly. And now Fire Strays down on one of their doors. Don't want to go much further. Level 1 Crook, I believe, gets stunned by an Ivagamoto from Black Soap, but there isn't really any follow-up that could come through. Fire Strays were too far back, focusing on capping the point instead. And now it has to be this rear guard. A quick retreat, trust me, round the back, ready to go with a Feast of the Abyss, and Fate's just cleaving through so many as they're just chomped on down. It's a fox steak for Trust Me, and they're chewing on through. The Iron Fist joining them. That's going to be Snoss down as well. Raja up close and personal, cutting through the competition. Na'Vi, despite losing out early, counterattack well.
Yeah, you guys are all fully awake for this one, right? Iron Fist in Spider-Man. We got a photo shoot with Rajaro. Like, Navi's composition is hilarious, and it worked. Fire Strays are putting Sloppo back on the Duelist. Demon will be on that triple strategist, of course, with the strat pool, which is huge aura plays from Snoss, but not a hero we see him on every day. Fire Strays losing that first fight. It's going to be tough to really win this out cleanly, so Navi could build up a serious lead, and Fate could take them all away with the It's Jeff.
It's Jeff, ready to try and find themselves a snack. Speaking of snacks, isolated closer. Don't know how they ended up there with no healing at all. And the big eat comes through from Fate on the Jeff. Needs to try and dodge some of this incoming fire, but it's difficult against the Hulk. Terror and Fate fall down to the Gamma collapse of the man himself. And now when it comes to trying to control this point, it's all about, trust me, climbing around on this center pillar before it breaks and the guards of the Imperial Institute of Science rise on up. Level 1 Crook needs to dodge away. Will there be enough chase here onto him? With 3 players on top of the Gambit, is unlikely to get away even with the Bayou Bash. And now Na'Vi are just going to get this last second contest coming through from their Vanguards before a flip in favor of Fire.
I like that it's Jeff ultimate from Fate, but he didn't even try to escape from the Galactic Legend from Sloppo. Like, he knows it's aimbot, right? Like, Fate kind of just stood there and was a sitting duck, and that freed the rest of Fire Strays, and Navi got absolutely ruined by Sloppo. So a good flip for Fire Strays at this point, and 3 strat ultimates to try and stall this out and get back into the lead. But Terra has been a menace on this Iron Fist. He is focused on these strats.
Prepare to unleash the Dragon. Has so many targets together to try and deal with it. Damon's going to try and rebuff them now by unleashing the Kumiho. But remember, that's got 900 HP, and Terra does percentage-based damage. Watching from afar, Terra falling so low. The invisible boundary means that Terra can't escape for slow. It's too much to deal with. The Feast of the Abyss takes down Closer, cancels out the ultimate after it was given the damage boost by the Wayward Gambit. Now it's Rajo just trying to keep this point contested. Almost has got the full cap over as Damon's fallen down as well as Nost, meaning that Fire Strays have no healing to try and play this one around with. Level 1 Crook under threat, but manages to outduel both Sloppo and de-Hulk the Hulk down into Bruce Banner form.
And Fire Strays are doing a good job of saving their cooldowns for these divers, namely the White Fox Charm for Terra. You're forcing Jerky back to the Daredevil, someone who can anchor better in and stay consistently in a fight versus a Spider-Man that uses all his cooldowns and has to leave pretty much immediately. So you got this brawl duo of Terra and Jerky. I really like this composition. Binary at big ultimate. We need to see an Eye of Agamotto from Black. So no portal play from Fire Strays, and they need to touch soon.
All right, Devil Unleashed by Jerky a little bit early, but Na'Vi, they're looking to try and collapse on all the members as they try and move away. A nice Kunlun kick comes through from Terra, who just tears through the competition after a Dragon's defense buffs up their punches. Yeah, Binary can temporarily stall out this point, but it's easily eaten out by Fate. Jerky following over onto Znost. The Deadpool can't stand up to the justice that Matthew Murdoch delivers, and Na'Vi are looking on form for being in T'Challa.
And you could tell that Navi were cooking. They were in the kitchen coming up with all these different compositions. Yes, that was the real Jerky Spider-Man that you got to witness, which was fun on such an open map like the Imperial Science Center, because there's so much open space and barely any cover, and Spider-Man takes so much advantage of that. But trying to get after the strategist, you have an Invis double jump, you have a charm from the White Fox. It was so much to deter the Spider-Man. And I like that Jerky got on a hero like the Daredevil that synergizes with Terra a lot better. And taking a look at these stats, you could tell that the strategists from the Fire Strays side were really suffering, having the most amount of deaths compared to everyone else. And Fire Strays were also organizing who was going to be their duelist. This is Sloppo, which I can't believe I even saw him on Jeff. That is a waste of talent. And then, you know, him and Demon kind of swapping up who was going to be the duelist. And I like that they ended up on this composition. They tried their best to peel against the divers, but Navi are so suffocating to go up against.
I mean, yeah, Closer had a real rough game. Like, Sloppo in one round of playing Jeff managed to out-heal Closer, which is a bit of a damning stat line if I had to give one. Let's jump into our replays here to think about how that one went down. And honestly, Terra and Demon, or rather Terra and Jerky, being able to play this double duelist line has been a big swap up for Na'Vi, who previously have kind of been relegating Jerky to that tertiary strategist role.
Navi just have been really strong in these first fights, which to get up to 99% and make kind of all for Fire Strays to play for all the marbles at the end, it was pretty insane. I think Fire Strays had the right game plan for their composition initially on Stellar Spaceport with the Hulk to kind of jump in. Instead of the Venom, Hulk is not as cooldown dependent. He can be a lot more mobile, but maybe not as explosive as a Venom can be. So Fire Strays were trying to find that consistency, just unfortunately couldn't really lock down these Navi strategists.
Yeah, and it seems that the first protect on the invis, and it's pretty good if you want to try and make sure that Black Soul can keep rolling forward with the Doctor Strange, but it's no match for a Gambit, which means you can run that double strategist very effectively and let Terra and Jerky off a leash, to be fair. And we'll see if NAVI are going to continue having such luxuries afforded to them when we get back after our break.
Felicia's here to steal a win. Good fortune for me. Cat's claws. Me, ouch. Let's make a deal. Peekaboo. Hup. So stealthy.
That's how we do it, Catwalk.
Eat your heart out, Strange. Deliciously dangerous.
I unleash the Shanti.
Now's the perfect time to strike. You crossed my path. Good boy, Petey. Meow. You crossed my path. Gotcha.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Well, leg day, are NAVI back? I mean, they had the most speed run of a domination we've seen today.
That was very back, I'm not gonna lie. NAVI looking very hot. I mean, having access to the Gambit means you can play double duelist, and we often forget that Jerky is on this team for a reason. He was their primary duelist for a long time before Terra was added to this squad, and showing that with a Daredevil in his hands, he is still a very tricky customer to try and deal with.
Can't be stopped. The devil was unleashed many times across the battlefield there. And Lemon, it felt like this team of Fire Strays, you know, they talked about it when they were going up against VP, like to have these exotic compositions. They took some notes from Heretics, but experimented on their own, having the Invisible Woman and the Doctor Strange. It just felt like it wasn't enough of a synergistic composition for this specific roster. I don't know about you.
Yeah, Fire Strays were just trying to adapt to so much. Like, also noticing that they protected the Mantis and then didn't play it with the Sloppo Star-Lord, and Sloppo started off on Jeff, which you're already just almost changing too much if you're Fire Strays. Like, what worked for you was like your duelist line that was starting and kind of amplifying that. And I kind of just changing who your main carry is or who you're trying to amplify in playoffs, when I felt like Fire Strays really found their footing towards the end of this match, is really surprising. I did like the Hulk kind of composition to dive in, but really lacked kind of this explosive damage that someone like Trust Me had on the Venom, which also I think Trust Me almost had top damage in the lobby with the Venom. So this is how impactful Trust Me is as a Vanguard.
I mean, this Vanguard line cannot be understated like day on Navi. It just seems like they are able to create so much space, distract the back line, make it so difficult for them to even focus on the rest of their team. I mean, part of the reason why we saw so many KOs against that back line felt like it was because Rajaro and Trust Me here.
Like, Trust Me just has great timing when it comes to the, like, cellular corrosion alongside things like the Feast of the Abyss, but also the Feast of the Abyss gets mighty fine when you boost up with the Raging Royal Flush that they had constant access to. It will just one-tap, but it feels like Rajaro in the neutral is just so accurate with the dual Desert Eagles that the Deadpool has. Like, if you allow Rajaro access to that hero, I think that's one of the reasons why we saw Closar go down so much, because the poke that happens before Trust Me goes in is all down to Rajaro's accuracy, and man doesn't really miss.
I mean, yeah, has the training from the Mag days is what we come to expect with this hero specifically. But Museum of Contemplation, Lemon, am kind of shocked that we're going to this one. Museum was one of the maps where eventually we saw, I think it was Terra on Black Panther, towards the end of one of their earlier series in the preseason group stages, just because they were full holding so hard.
Yeah, and to note that I don't think Sestroid has been subbed in, which is another note, because when this team likes to go to more open maps, usually they've picked something like Hall of Dajalia, which I think I would compare to the amount of space on Hall of Dajalia to Museum of Contemplation to really go behind this binary dive on the Venom, which they've gone now more towards the Hulk these days. But if you want to take advantage of a longer and like further away dive, then the Venom would be key here on Museum. So I'm expecting the binary Venom, but Sestroid was part of kind of taking advantage of these more open maps by playing the Atom, playing the Ultron, and being part of the damage boost basket. So the fact that he's not in tells me there's more changes coming in from the Fire Strays camp.
They're trying to throw everything in the kitchen sink in terms of compositions at this team and see what sticks. And maybe Museum of Contemplation is the way to do it, more of a dive-centric map. But like it feels like this also just favors Navi so much, especially because of how heavily they are favored in terms of Venom specifically. I feel like Terra does a really good job on that Star-Lord if the Elsa isn't available. Like, what do you think is the thought process here for this team of Fire Strays trying to go to this map as their counter pick?
I mean, I'm a little bit suspicious of Fire Strays right now. I can't help but notice that they essentially stole Heretic's composition but beat Navi for domination, when we hadn't really seen Fire Strays play that much. Like, we know that they enjoy Hulk, but they hadn't been huge heal pool enjoyers. And I'm wondering, have Fire Strays seen another Vault here? They're like, oh, you know what, we'll have that. That's a pretty good composition right there.
Just to emphasize how good Navi are, this is one of their best maps. They full held Alter Esports on the defense. They full held Shikigami on the defense. They full held Team Peps on the defense. Like, their defense is so strong, if I haven't stressed that enough. So really worried about Fire Strays here.
Well, speaking of defense, that's where Navi are starting for our second map of our third best of 5 of the day. They're looking to clean sweep the competition, not give up a single point to their competitors, and we'll see if that dominance continues.
All right, let's jump on in. Navi 1-0 up right now, but Fire Strays, they have a little bit of leg room in this series. We're into the best of 5s now. This is for all the marbles. Don't want to get knocked down to that lower bracket early, especially knowing that Rad might be waiting there at some point. That's very scary when it comes to Fire Strays, who have already lost pretty handily to Rad, but that was during their first week. So maybe we can scrub that bit out of history if we're the victors.
Yeah, leg room, but can you actually cap point A? It's like me asking for leg room, but I'm 5 foot, so it's like Fire Strays.
Not a great priority.
I do not care. You put me in a box somewhere, I'll be good. So Fire Strays, they could be put in a box though, because Navi are starting off on defense, and that could be what really ends Fire Strays if they don't pull through here.
I'm wondering if we see any more triple Vanguard come through from Navi. I think Fire Strays, they were pretty on it by getting rid of the Rogue previously, but it felt like the second that Navi had that Protect on the Gambit, that Fire Strays were playing catch-up on their bans last time, having to get rid of a Loki, having to get rid of a Rogue. And then you got to consider, like, do we let the Star-Lord go through as well? Like, we get the one-sided Vanguard pool, which is so good for Rajaro. And admittedly, maybe not the worst thing in the world for Fire Strays, who are very happy to kind of let the Vanguard pool go by the wayside and have Blaxo and Binary be able to play their more specialist vanguards.
Fire Strays just trying to keep their cards up their sleeve, and man, they kind of threw us for a loop with their ideas. And they've gone, and I've already talked about the Fire Strays evolution, but Navi are throwing Spider-Man into the mix. They're throwing like all kinds of stuff at you and throwing you for a loop. And Navi are a team that I think could execute on almost anything, but when they have those strats prepared, I'm worried about if Navi starts to sweat, how those adaptations come out of panic and frustration or something else rather than something they've actually practiced. But right now, Navi are smooth sailing. They took that first map in a 2-0, so it's time to see on their best map if Navi can be just as consistent.
All right, Fire Strays already making an adaptation. You know what? We're not going to first protect the Invis again, and Navi have read this. And they've been happy to say, like... oh, hello. Well, Fire Strays, they're going to get the Invis taken away from them pretty quickly here. Because, hey, if you're going to first protect it, we know that it's pretty important to your overall plans. You really want to empower the Doctor Strange with that team up. So we're just going to take that one away as quickly as possible and get the Gambit for ourselves again, which means that we're likely to see Navi run another 2-2-2, or at least have the capacity to do so, because Gambit is a very capable healer as a strategist, and that means that you generally don't need to have a tertiary strategist in order to make up the healing.
Yeah, the fact that Navi got away with having Terra on Star-Lord with level 1 Crook on the Gambit, like, that was already just so out of hand with the Jet Venom team up. Like, such a good pick ban coming out of their side. Well, I didn't feel like Fire Strays took full advantage of having the Mantis protected and available to them with a Star-Lord that was being played. It felt like Fire Strays' initial game plan got ruined when it was, what, 100-0 in the first round? You're like, all hell is breaking loose. You're getting fire extinguishers. You're overcooking, trying to just throw all of your ideas out into the trash. And Fire Strays looked better on the second round, being able to actually reclaim the point fairly swiftly. But it's, yeah, a very suffocating dive to go up against when it comes to Terra and Jerky on the Iron Fist and Daredevil. But on a map like Museum, I'm not expecting the Iron Fist, to be honest. Maybe point A, it's a lot more enclosed, but this could be maybe a Terra Phoenix, because we saw that on a Rocco Convoy. That looks super good from Terra. Of course, you could just run the Star-Lord, but it depends on what's available in the pick ban. The players called for a pause, so we'll jump in pretty quickly, but a one-sided Elsa could make all the difference like that.
Yeah, hopefully any ping issues have been sorted out, as we should be out of our pause very shortly. And like you said, one-sided Elsa, this is definitely a very powerful character to have in your hands, and maybe an equivalent counterweight to what Na'Vi now have with access to the Gambit. It's going to be Loki, of course, taken off the board straight away. You do not want to deal with double Raging Royal Flush, but now you have to make a choice of your Fire Strays. Do you get rid of a Star-Lord, or do you get rid of the Rogue?
And all you could think about is this Elsa. Like, you got to get rid of all the strategists that are going to fully enable that, and making sure that you have the Rogue along with the Gambit is going to be important here for Na'Vi, which is funny because Museum of Contemplation is just known as such a long and large map that there's been so much dive coming out here, but no Deadpool or Vanpool to accompany that Rogue.
Not sure if I'm a huge fan of that. Like, I know that Rajaro has been very deadly on the Vanguard pool so far, but this does mean that now you have Gambit and Rogue team up and Raging Royal Legend from the Star-Lord, which is quite difficult to deal with, and also makes for a very viable single duelist composition here for Na'Vi if they want to play something that's like Ultra Bunker with a bunch of heals off the back of 3 strategists. And Fire Strays are just having their pool of available strategists get whittled down so much.
And now Slappo doesn't have to overthink it. Now he's on Elsa. He doesn't have to do like crazy geometry with the Star-Lord. I'm coming up with 25 different flanks and when he should do it. It's a lot more simple. You just play around your backline, and we'll see how creative Slappo wants to get. But I think safer is always better against a team like Na'Vi, and really taking your time to play front to back with your Fire Strays. And if Demon stays on the Wolverine, that could be really interesting. This first corner, you can get some nice kidnaps by wrapping around through the right doorway, coming up behind the Vanguards, and taking them into your own team. It's a very offensive side corner, I would say, for Fire Strays. And trying to break that defensive hold can be really tricky. So we'll see what Fire Strays end up on, which we could also see swaps depending on what Vanguards they expect to see on the other side. And a triple Vanguard from NAVI is what's going to make this even harder to try and dislodge.
But Jerky on the Hulk? Hulk is such a specialist character. If Jerky pounds on this character, I'm going to be thoroughly impressed. This is not an easy character to learn or to master at the pro level.
He just goes burr. He just gets to jump and clap like a dolphin and just jump on out. I find him to be really fun. Maybe not as mechanical as others, but the triple Vanguard, this is a special cook from Navi. You could tell that they've innovated a lot, but you got to be careful of where Demon could emerge as that Wolverine, as Navi are already contesting and getting active.
All right, indestructible guard given over here by Jerky. That's going to be very important for bubbling off some of these Vanguards from getting grabbed by the Wolverine and that leap. However, a little bit deeper in his trust me, and well, that's some great walls brought up by Black Soda, cut off the healing, and now Sloppo is able to carve through the remainder of the Vanguards. This is why you protect the Elsa, especially when you might think you're going to go and face up against triple Vanguard.
Trust me, he's trying to figure out the backup plan. Was on the Venom, now back to the Rogue, and Fire Strays had a fantastic punish onto that Deadpool, and Navi are a bit floundering now. The first plan did not work out, and you have to try and retake against a Groot, and you pointed it out, Blackso denied the resources at a critical time, and that got the picks for Fire Strays.
Oh, Jerky already being afflicted with the Banhammer. That means that movement isn't in their favor. Actually gets taken down by the Smoke Demon, laying down by Elsa now. Demon getting up close and personal. And the Vanguard's just suffering so much percentile damage. Between the Wolverine and the Elsa, there are no easy outs here, and Terra's going to find themselves staggered behind. It's going to make it harder for Navi to meet the car early.
Such a momentum run, too, for Fire Strays, again, being able to defend the end of that point with a Groot, and you have an Elsa lined up who didn't even have to use the Apex Predator. Sloppo's ahead of the game, and this is going to be a lot of long lanes, but also different sections of the lanes that Navi can play at. Rajara's on the Captain America, along with Trust Me on the Rogue. This is such a run-it-down anchor Vanguard line that Fire Strays could try and dislodge, but also really chunk down at a distance. So look at Sloppo to farm this.
Rajo just doing his best to troll the objective progress at the moment. That's a huge anti coming through from the Gambit. Great connection from the side of level 1 Crook, but it seems like for now it's mostly bloodless. Trust me, bit off more than they could chew. Gets bonked with the stick. It's not your turn to talk, it would seem. Let's just move everyone to the Luna of all things here, and man, just a freeze. The Wolverine over the shoulder. Let me at him.
Claws are out. Fire Strays are not kidding around. An absolute collapse as Navi got chunked down on the approach, but Terra hits to help them stabilize.
Yeah, Blackso's already down. It's going to be answered here from Closer with the Fate of Both Worlds. Critically though, Terra did not get the Raging Royal Flush, and so is not doing as much damage. The sparks are building up. Closer yet again to another End Song Inferno, and Jerky's here to try and finish things off with the Rage of Ultron. Closer the next one down. There's a little bit of aerial support from the Gambit now. Amali may look pretty in the low-key skin. He's not going to be able to get out of this one.
Yes, Terra on the Phoenix. This is what was promised. I loved him on Araco Convoy, just playing that ranged duelist. You need something to contend against Sloppo. All melee might not be the answer here for Navi, but now playing this corner, it's a lot easier, but do they see this push, this rotation from Fire Strays coming around the backside? Strangling Prison from Blackso is what they really want to set up.
Apex Predator, ready to go. You can already hear the Banham has been deployed by Binary. Kumiho has to be unleashed. A big freeze on the other side. Sloppo now works the margins, looking around the outside. Does have the Smoke Demon ready to go if someone can be dragged into a more precarious position. Jerky's falling low, demands for healing, and Fate's there to give it. But now you've got to start worrying about the objective if you Fire Strays. You can't poke after a map flip for long.
Still plenty of time for Fire Strays. They flip the map, still looking for that Strangling Prison. Demon and Binary in trouble, able to be healed back up. There's no straddles. Xenos is 5% away, and they need to survive until that.
Rajray caught around the outside by the smoke demon. I'm not sure where Blackso's ult went in the midst of all of that, and it seems like the Ensong Inferno is going to be falling as well. A pair of ultimates expended for not that much, honestly. Snost ready to go. Oh, managed to capture the Raging Royal Flush. This could be massive here for Fire Strays, able to match up to what level 1 Crook was bringing to the table, but a Freedom Charge is going to temporarily rebuff them. An Ironwood Wall, the Glartrox as well. Trust me, he's grabbed, and Rajray is going to be lucky to escape with his life as Freedom lives to fight another day. In towards Terra, a two-man dive to try and cut down the off-angle DPS. The Duelist is going to be able to cause so many problems to this one. Jerky up in the sky. Can they get fire onto this Ultron? It seems like for now the pocket's going to be good. Oh, that's a huge grab onto the Gambit. Level Crook was so close to their ultimate. 98%. And now Sloppo's on the chase. Jerky down. Terra the next to go. It's an unfortunate TP there for the White Fox. But now they take to the skies. And there are some hostages behind for NAVI.
Oh, and Sloppo's on the hunt, and this stagger is gonna ruin NAVI, and they're gonna pop the Royal Flush to bail them out, but it's too late.
All right, winning hand now. Raging Royal Flush. Level 1 Crook means that everyone gets to do so much damage, and with Closer down, Fire Strays is going to be lacking in that healing. It's only Snost here with the Doppelgangers. Brings up the Regeneration Domain to try and have this little bit of stability purchased for Fire Strays.
Jerky is so good with his decision making. I mean, he had a great imperative patch to help the team with that extra health when Demon's Wolverine ult came out and was about to completely dismantle NAVI. Speaking of Demon, he's now in the White Box. Still have the triple strat now for Fire Strays, investing into Sloppo. He's been that huge playmaker, and these flyers from NAVI better be careful.
All right, attempts at a charm. Damon tries to get involved now into the melee form, doing so much damage. Rajray forced to flee away. The Heartbreaker's here, so too is the Ensong Inferno up close and personal. Snost has fallen down, and trust me, well on the chase. The team up serving them well as Sloppo tries to disengage, but all they can do is watch their tree get cut down in their wake. Grabbing 2 on the exit, 30 seconds remain.
And this is one of the few teams, if not the only team, to even get past point A on their attack against a NAVI. They have had to change their comp so many times. The triple strat now from NAVI instead of the triple Vanguard. It's just about trying to keep their distance and damage boost Terra as much as possible. Fire Strays, they're on their way in.
The music has started now, harkening the end of this one. One player grabbed inside of a Strangling Prison is going to be, trust me, it's a big opening early. Going to give a lot of favor. Oh, the feel, the absolute steal. The New York Thieves Guild is so happy with this one, getting a hold of the Raging Royal Flush. What a play from Snost off the back of their duplicitous exchange. In comes the portal from Trust Me. It's quick to get onto the cart. Can they just debark in time? 357 centimeters separate Fire Strays from third, and they're able to get it as those overtime spawns take so long.
And late eliminations means Fire Strays build momentum from here on out. And yeah, quite a nice highway here for a very hungry Apex Predator, but NAVI have really prioritized the high ground. Any nooks and crannies, they can try to get a jump on Fire Strays, but NAVI's rotation seems so uncomfortable because they've been hostages. We pointed out how sometimes they are divided from each other and not able to conquer Fire Strays in these moments. Fantastic awareness from this attack, and it's Fire Strays in the driver's seat.
Good charm coming through from Damon. Going up against these Vanguards. A momentary CC could be everything. You can see Fate doing their best Oasis cosplay in the back. Just keeping that very annoying angle. Moving towards the back closer. Needs to be bailed out here as the Spectral Surges move on forward from the White Fox. Blackstone needs to be bailed. And so it's going to be the fate of both worlds to try and drag Navi into a fight they cannot win. Jerky falling low. Give themselves some extra HP. And Raja is going to be the one to deliver it. Freedom Charge towards the back. They really want the Luna. A mid-air collision for Terra means not much has been gained off the back of their ultimate, and here comes the Glartrox. A pair of Vanguards captured, and now Fate finds himself out without any help, really. Could be chased down, had one player within them, I believe.
Trust Me is gonna have a hard time. More swaps are coming out of Navi. I mean, you're gonna get frozen by the Luna, charmed by the White Fox, walled in by the Groot. Could be tough for Trust Me to get value, but as long as you get a good ultimate, you can combo it with something else. But the Raging Royal Flush is what's on the menu. Rajaro on the Emma, just any kind of shield to block some of this damage. But here's the Raging Royal Flush.
4 players buffed up. Crook already heading towards the back. A great anti placed onto the strategist. However, the Regeneration Domain is going to give them a moment of stability. Terra Terra falling low as Jerky looks for a target, and Binary's the only one that presents himself at the moment. Doctor Strange is going to be difficult to keep contested as Blackso stands on business. 3 players grabbed inside of the ultimate. The strangling prison, though, does not claim any lives. And now Blackso's able to grab Rajara on the other side. Duplicity exchange from Snost to get away from their angry sister. The Angela needs to be dealt with, and Fate's still around in the back, but so long as you can keep the Elsa up, everything's going to be hunky-dory for now.
Navi just need to win one fight. Why is this so difficult? Level 1 Crook now has to just heal for themselves and try to rejoin the team. But these are the type of macro decisions that Navi have been really punished on, and Fire Strays have Sloppo delivering all the big eliminations.
They have to go down. Level 1 Crook has the full commit for it still. Doctor Strange just made it so deep into third point. Damon going to be the next big target as in comes the end song Inferno. A coup de grace from Terra as they set the offense alight. But Fire Strays, what a push.
Yeah. Navi stopped themselves from fully bleeding out. Level 1 Croak, I was worried about how they were going to get punished in this off angle, but to be the one to assassinate Sloppo is a massive play. Navi were able to keep their heads above water after swapping from triple Vanguard to triple Strat to anything, everything from Flyers to Jerky and Terra were able to at least really output that damage out of distance at point C, but Fire Strays carried so much momentum. This backline has been amazing. Demon has been evading any dives going his way. He provides a lot of nice AoE heals to Fire Strays when they kind of need to bunker up and peel for each other. And Sloppo has been impactful as ever. So Fire Strays, this is a really nice performance, a very far push for this map.
Okay, looks like we might have a slight connection issue here. So, oh, hello, VOD. Welcome back.
Hello.
You know what? We're in halftime, so you can come and chat with us during our brief pause here. Fire Strays might get, like, Lemon was pointing out that there are a lot of, like, hostage scenarios with Na'Vi. Are Fire Strays managing to turn their off angles against them?
Oh, man, I feel like they are. And what's so interesting, too, is, like, they went to the map that Na'Vi has so much confidence on, and I feel like maybe they were overconfident in this. Maybe they weren't practicing it as much, and that is kind of showing a little bit here based on the compositions we're seeing coming out from Fire Strays. They've studied all the footage because there's so much of it, and have used that to their advantage against Na'Vi, which I think is a brilliant move here specifically. So hopefully that'll be enough for Fire Strays to potentially eke out a map. But if you're Na'Vi, I think they still have all the confidence in the world, right? They have the ultimates, they have the combinations. We're seeing a little bit of a change potentially coming out from Rajaro if once they get reconnected. I think they were the one who disconnected here. So I don't know. I mean, Jen, specifically for Na'Vi to change things around, this is the most we've seen a team take space against them. So it's like we're in uncharted waters.
Yeah, and I'm surprised we're not just seeing a random Iron Fist, because it's like when fire happens, there's an Iron Fist that's there to bail them out. But that's clearly a joke. Rajaro, yeah, has been the one that swapped anything from Captain America to whatever, and he got target banned. His Van Pool is gone, and you could tell that that was such an important hero for him to be consistent on. And now he ended up on the EMEA, and then it was the Captain America on point B, and so many different things. Like, they have this Brawl Vanguard line, and they're trying to synergize with a lot of Flyers and a lot of range duelists. And Na'Vi, you could tell their macro is getting a bit messed up with a lot of heroes that have different playstyles or places that they like to play at. And I think Fire Strays being able to sit back, teleport away, like if you have a White Fox, and freeze if you're closer. Like, Fire Strays have had an answer to the brawl of Na'Vi. So it's about Rajaro and Trust Me trying to find their place on how they can kind of best set up Jerky and Terra for success.
All right, thanks for the input, Vodable. We'll see you in a couple of minutes, depending on how well Na'Vi do with their push here. Getting stuck back in, it's Na'Vi's turn to attack.
Fire Strays got very far on this map. To break that first corner is not easy to do. They've had some good punishes. Blackstone, one of his best heroes here of the group, once again, was a huge part of denying resources by walling off Terra and friends. But with the Phoenix, you can break down those walls quite quickly. And Fire Strays are taking a lot of poke, though.
I think Black Zone might actually be aiming to catch a bunch of this poke, knowing that they have 3 strategists behind them. It can be a little bit difficult to try and keep up when it comes to the generation of strategist ultimate. Seems like Jerky hasn't got too much off the back of their first feral leap, but don't forget they got that primal flame team up. Trust me, gets isolated by a moving wall that was placed on the front of the Batsmobile there, and Fire Strays have no mercy in their heart. They're chasing down all of these players.
What a sailboat. I gotta write that one down. Groot walls can move with the bus. Nice plays from Fire Strays. And winning that first fight means you've built up towards that first ultimate. The banhammer from Binary to be able to take someone out of the fight. And because you really don't want to shoot or do anything at all once that banhammer hits you. And if you stall long enough, Blackstone's gonna have a strangling prison before any strat ults could come out. So Navi are in trouble.
And Sloppo is just going to run this town when it comes to this long line here. If you move down here as a Vanguard, you are going to be eating so many monster piercers. Terra ready to go with the Ensong Inferno. All in onto Binary. A follow-up is good. Strangling Prisoner to try and turn it around. A nice dodge from the Glass Rocks too, but Fate still gets caught within. Still while players are low, level 1 Crook learns to feast. Black So is not going to be able to make any progress on towards the cart, and it's going to have to be a TP back here for Fire.
Terra's using all these Ensong Infernos to just get himself out of strangling prisons and ultimates that could trap him, but it's not turning fights, it's saving him. But there is a reemergence here from Navi to contest.
Oh, Black So coming back out as well on the Wolverine. Raging Royal Flush from level 1 Croak. Just try and shut this one down before it begins, and getting Sloppo first is certainly going to be ideal. Strangling Prison on top of it. Navi have burned 2 pretty important ultimates here to try and make this one work. And still there's going to be a little grab from Jerky. Has the last stand. Is he brave enough to try and use it? Has already taken out Black So, and so it's not going to be necessary.
Imagine when Black Cat comes in later on, they're just gonna have so many claws out, like Wolverine on Wolverine and everything, like in the Jerky versus, well, no more Wolverine on Fire Stray's side. Navi knowing if they could kidnap Black So, that'll really destabilize the front line. You just have to know that he's not going to be anti-CC'd in that condition with his bigger wall. Now Navi, they feel like they've gathered some momentum. They got that point cap after all, after some initial ult cycling trouble. Now Jerky to look for a final stand here as they take the high ground. Fire Strays are going to try and counter position into shelter.
All right, Sloppo up close and personal. The Monster Pierce could do so much damage here. To trust me, who's gone deep amongst all of this. Jerky ready to go with the last stand, but do you want to use it inside? It could be a little bit more difficult to hit, but Terra's getting up close and personal. Not a single ounce of fear is seen within the Canadian's heart as they run down the members of Fire Strays.
Wow, yeah, Navi trapped Fire Strays. You thought you were safe, but no, you're trapped in there with Navi. And to defend now this last point with a Groot, with close to a strangling prison, Rajaro's gonna have an important role here. He has found his footing in this map, but Jerky's looking for the back line.
Raging Royal Flush already forced out those ultimates as well. Oh, they grabbed into one place, and they're flash broiled by Terra. Call that one a pressure cooker.
My God, from the Iron Fist Daredevil duo, the deadly duo from Burn and T'Challa, enter Wolverine Phoenix Supremacy from Navi. What a sick combo. To ignore that Vanguard line, to go after the strategist, that was the win condition of Navi. Now the wind is in their sails. They have not lost a fight for that point B, so they have a big time advantage going into this final part, and if they can keep on going, they'll go up to match point.
Binary back onto the Vanguard Deadpool. Wants to try and earn an early ban hammer here, but it's a great catch early. Grabbing the group, getting that percentage health damage, and even the ult of Closar can't save them. The fate of both worlds to be decided right here and now, it would seem, as Jerky, you just can't get him off Binary. He's just sitting on top of these Vanguards doing so much damage. Ban hammer given over. Sloppo's nothing to Terra. Burns them before the almighty Phoenix Force casts them into the fire from whence they shall never return.
I think Closer and Znost were trying to coordinate who was going to ult first. They thought they could take the initiative with Znost, and Closer had to be the one to react quickly to the last stand of Jerky. So Closer not able to save Flaxo, and just when it rains, it pours. Fire Strays have now not won a fight in quite a while, and Terra is just heating up, and all the ults are on Navi's side. They have all 6 pretty much.
6 ticks to try and play with. Raging Royal Flush, I believe, was copied over by Znost here. This might be a moment of stability that can be found. Can they grab? Trust me. Rajara already down. Sloppo finally impacting here with the shotgun. The Monster Hunter next to try and make a move, as Fate is a little bit scary for Binary to try and deal with here. 2 strategists win the 2 versus 1, but with Terror already falling down, it's going to have to be a reset for NAVI.
Sigh of relief. I like that angle from Sloppo to be on the high ground to try and target these backliners. That's what Navi has been doing to them this whole time, and Fire Strays can really take advantage of that weakness. So it's going to be important for Navi to get vision here because Sloppo's going undetected.
Sloppo not noticed. That Apex Predator could be everything. Seems to have been momentarily stunned. Multiple players inside of the group ultimate. And yeah, guess what? You think the CC is over? You could not be more wrong, my friend. There's even more on top of that as Fire Strays expend 2 important ultimates for a bit of stability.
Navi didn't panic though, so they didn't have to really use much. Fire Strays, I mean, Navi go into this point with 4 minutes. Half of that is gone. They just need a really good Strangling Prison into Endsong Inferno. Fire Strays, you probably aren't sure if Closer has the Fate of Both Worlds if you're ult tracking for Navi. So that's going to be the big question mark if that comes out in time.
Occupying the high ground here has been so important for the side of Fire Strays as well, forcing Navi to make these movements in order to try and dislodge these poking characters from the top. Binary has access once again to their ultimate from the back. Jerky gets a massive grab onto Black So, and there's nothing to try and save him now. It just has to be Binary staying around on the point. Heartbreaker in towards the back. Terror just dropping down a dive bomb onto the back line, but it seems like there hasn't been that much that's gained off the back of it. Maybe was simply avoiding the attention of the ban hammer from Binary, as Fire Strays need to try and figure out how to make this defense work when they're down on Vanguards and low on time.
Now you're going towards the end of the finish line. You got the Royal Flush versus the Fate of Both Worlds. This is the last stand for Fire Strays. They have respawn advantage.
Big grab coming in from the Strangling Prism. A follow-up is not going to be there, though, because Closer still a couple of seconds left on that Fate of Both Worlds. A critical mistiming from Rajro, and now Znost amongst all his doppelgangers he can get a trick over onto Trust Me. And suddenly for Na'Vi, they are starting to worry about the time.
Yeah, I mean, Fire Strays are bringing this to the last seconds, the final fight to see if they can tie the series, if they could take their first map against Na'Vi. This would be insane. Only Shikigami and Heretics have been able to shake Na'Vi this much. And Na'Vi now have Jerky on the Star-Lord. Terran will stick to his gun, stick to the fire that has brought so much life to Na'Vi. Now we'll bring the fight to Fire Strays.
Looking in towards the back, wants a quick charge, but Damon unable to connect. Still, while they look towards the back, they're not looking towards Rajro, and Binary's able to gun them down with the dual Desert Eagles. Unleashing the Kumiho. Na'Vi say that it's now or never, and they need to get level 1 crook up towards that Raging Royal Flush. Towards the back, there are no options for Terror. Just has to flee away. Black So, Durdum, and indeed will find his man. Choose through Terror, and Sloppo's going to be uncontested on the point as the sole duelist, the avatar of death and destruction that reigns over the kingdom of Doctor Strange. Well, there has been a momentary portal back coming through from Rajaro. He can't stand up for long. The next player comes on out, a worthy flesh sacrifice, but one that the gods of Marvel Rivals reject as Fire Strays go 1-1.
And they were on fire doing this. I can't believe it. They were getting bulldozed through pretty much from point B to this point of the map. I was worried because there was 4 minutes for Na'Vi to just win the one fight. And it was because of Fire Strays' positioning. They were so split that it was hard for Na'Vi to get a good Strangling Prison to kind of go off of the main win conditions. So they kind of have to go off plan. They had to start contesting the high ground. Terror was able to fly up there along with Rajaro and anybody else. So Na'Vi had to adapt to Fire Strays so much, but Fire Strays were so elusive and hard to lock down throughout that. An amazing job in the macro department from Fire Strays on the defensive front and leveraging Sloppo where they could. 20 final blows from that Elsa, by the way, at 34,000 damage. This is Sloppo reimagined. This is unbelievable from him.
Yeah, and being able to win out against the one-sided Gambit as well was something we needed to see from Fire Strays here in this series after what happened over on Domination. You know what? My shout out for this match is Znost. Bro managed to get so many duplicitous swaps with his doppelgangers to get LOS onto level 1 crook and steal away the Raging Royal Flush with the God of Mischief, which was, frankly, it shouldn't have worked as well as it did, but I love to see innovation, and that's a little bit of innovation right there.
And Closer gets MVP from Fire Strays, and I think a lot of it is from the utility. You pretty much were single-handedly forcing Navi off of melee characters, because Closer was hitting like every freeze on anyone that came nearby, and also 46,000 healing, doubling pretty much like Demon, and Znos was up there in the healing too. Like, Closer was so pivotal at healing for the backline, forcing Navi to have to play more of ranged duelists and to play more flyers. So Navi tried to change the plan so much. At least we were fans of the hero choices this time, but Navi, they lost their best map and their map pick. This is crazy.
Well, Fire Strays, evidently they knew something was in the water when they decided to go to Museum of Contemplation, because we were all like, what are they picking this for? But I'm kind of flabbergasted. That was a crazy performance as well. Binary showing us that the Vanguard pool does demand that ban as well. I would love to see Navi continually see this like Vanguard pool banned against them. I think that it's been a lot of value so far.
It really was. Fire Strays, this was their map pick. Navi, that was their playground, but our series is tied 1-1. Now it's Navi's choice of where we're going to go to next, so we're going to give them some time. We'll see you after this.
Felicia's here to steal a win. Good fortune for me. Cat's claws. Me, ouch. Let's make a deal. Peekaboo. Hup. So stealthy.
That's how we do it, Admiral.
Eat your heart out, strange. Deliciously dangerous.
I unleash the Shanti.
Now's the perfect time to strike. You crossed my path. Good boy, Petey. Meow. You crossed my path. Gotcha.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
What an insane series of events we have had so far today. Shikigami getting the 3-0 sweep over Rad. Now we have Fire Strays tying things up against the former world champions in Navi. Lemon, talk to me, break it down. It feels like there's a bit of a difference this time in the Vanguard lineups between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, you had Binary and Blackso kind of trading roles, where Binary was so well known for his dive and his venoms, and then it was Blackso that was running that. Blackso was running the Groot game. I feel like Rajaro got a bit threatened and tried to mirror it, because it's like, how do you beat Groot? Well, with a better Groot most of the time, because, man, those walls were an issue. Blackso was so pivotal at kind of isolating fights at pivotal times. And then Navi, we were kind of talking about the mystery heroes of all the different stuff that I can't even recall all the things that they went through, but Navi are going to recall their success on Hall of Dajalia, which was what they did against Heretics.
Well, I don't know if we can call it success necessarily, because they got through with their without a ban happening at the end. I know, Leg Day, you talked about that in the interview afterwards. You're like, how did this happen? And you guys still won. It seemed a bit sloppy on their side. They weren't as confident. And Heretics even said that, like, Venom might not be the best for this map. I mean, what do we expect after Navi going to a map that they should have rightfully won last time and need to this time?
I'm wondering if they have an answer for the White Fox Luna. Like, we heard the whisperings amongst the scene. The streets were saying that Luna White Fox is a very good anti-dive duo with that Kumiho team up, allowing for 2 charges of Spectral Surge, essentially, to come out and charm someone who's making ingress, whether that's a rogue or a Venom, and that definitely seemed to be doing a great job of making sure that Trust Me had to be a little bit more conservative with how their dives are going, as well as pulling Jerky off of the Wolverine, which I think was really creating a lot of instability for Fire Strays.
It's a tough spot to find yourself in if you are Navi here specifically, because you're like, okay, we didn't expect to have to counterpick at this point, especially going to the Museum of Contemplation. You were saying it, Lemon, like that was their comfort zone. They looked so good before, and then they are in a nightmare currently in this series. It's no longer Fire Strays. The fear has come back instead. But talking about this specific matchup, what we can expect to see from Fire Strays now that we've seen that Luna and White Fox, do we see maybe a priority in terms of protection so that they can keep that going here against more of the dive mindset that Navi's typically known for this map?
I think Navi just need to feel comfortable with their Vanguard line. You saw kind of how much it affected them to not have the Van pool available for Rajaro, and how he was swapping from Groot to Cap to whatever else that he was hoping to help the team with. And trust me, he's played Venom on this before. I still think despite them losing this map to Heretics, they still almost completed the map. They almost got to the 3rd point, which not a lot of teams can say they've pushed Heretics to that edge. And Terra on the Star-Lord is ever so dominant, and I think if you have Crook or Jerky on the Mantis, if that gets through all the eggs in the Terra basket, I think he was trying to make a lot of plays on Museum. A lot of the picks went Terra's way, but you need a team around Terra, and you need everyone on their comfort picks.
We'll have to see exactly how it goes down for this next map, specifically what the compositions are going to look like. If it is going to be Fire Strays taking the advantage, Navi having to bounce it back here after being dished another map loss. They've been here before, though. They lost one to Shikigami and were able to turn things around and close out the series. But this is the best of 5. It's a different ball game and a different series, so we'll see how this one goes.
Navi's fate is in their hands. A map pick now going to Hall of Jalia, one of their most iconic maps, where they first took a map off of Virtus Pro. Some would say that was the beginning of the end for the mid-season run for Virtus Pro before they were forced to really batten down the hatches before making their World Championship run in the second half of 2025. As we dump into our bans again, we'll see if Elsa is going to be a priority here for Na'Vi. And yes, indeed, Na'Vi are going to get rid of that Elsa now to make sure that Sloppo can no longer dominate the lobby.
And the last time we saw Fire Strays on this map, and I hate to keep bringing up a substitute, but Sestroid was in at the time. So how much have they scrimmed without him? That was a lot of the triple strat. They even brought out a really fun Iron Man comp. Like, Fire Strays were even cooking during the normal matches of the preseason. But now it's, how is this Elsa keep getting by? Now it's going to be Terra that'll get to enjoy that, not Sloppo, because you saw how much of a difference it made for Fire Strays last map.
Okay, once again, Fire Strays are going to shy away from playing the Gambit themselves. Just making sure that level 1 Crook doesn't have access to it. Na'Vi are happy to reban that to make sure that Gambit stays off the table. But the one-sided Mantis here could allow for a singular duelist to try and match up towards a Terra Elsa.
I'd really like a Sloppo Star-Lord 2 worst-case scenario, and how that gets paired up with all the strategists that... And I think when you have such a mobile hero like a Star-Lord, it also appeals well against... you would say that it's an attacking duelist, but also a very good duelist at peeling against Venom, because a Star-Lord, being one of the most mobile duelists, can chase down a lot of these characters that run out of cooldowns, and are trying to escape. And so a Star-Lord can try and chase that down. But the Loki Mantis is going to be a fun backline for Fire Strays to play with.
Especially knowing that Blackso would love to play the Groot here. That could be a ban that's on Navi's mind, but I imagine it's kind of low priority. I wouldn't mind seeing them take the Vanguard Deadpool away from Binary, considering how much he did on that previous map, being able to knock some players down. Yep, it is going to be Vanguard Deadpool taken away from everybody.
Which, I don't know how much that really affected Rajara. I don't know the guy personally, but that is his best hero by far. I would say the best Vanpool in EMEA. Like, he puts out numbers that would rival any Elsa on a Vanguard. So we'll see how he'll adapt on a very open map. He swapped to anything, I think even including the EMEA at some point. Like, Fire Strays, or Navi, I should say, felt like their Vanguards were so frantic to find a solution. So hopefully Navi can settle in comfortably, because they had so much time to finish the map. I thought Navi was going to win Museum of Contemplation, but it came down to execution and better macro from Fire Strays. And Navi, through that chaos, was quite frantic on how they were trying to figure things out.
I love this last ban on the Venom here for Fire Strays. Actually opens up their options for a backline quite a bit, as it means that they don't have to try and play for that White Fox Luna, when they really want to instead be playing for the Mantis and the Loki together, and the additional damage boost that Damon can give over with that Imperative Patch onto Sloppo. So I think that getting rid of the Venom there means that they can be a lot more kind of stationary, a lot like lower mobility with their backline, as well as taking away all potential team-ups from Fate, which means that you're not getting as much out of that Jeff.
Can't underestimate how nice that sleep is too from the Mantis, because I mean, Closer was fantastic on the Luna getting these freezes to peel, but the Mantis sleep a little bit easier to hit than a Luna freeze at times. And if Navi are going to run it down with the very well-known, trust me, Captain America, this is going to be fun. But I think Rajaro is going to help with the gap close. We'll see if there's a portal play from Navi out the gates.
It could be an instant portal indeed. The layers of shields, the onion of defense is wrapped up around Rajaro, and they would love to just get directly on top of these strategists, try and cut them off from healing. Oh, it's a perfect angle here. The question is, can they escape fast enough? Nope. Instant pull from level 1. Crook means Nost has nowhere to go. This one might be curtains already.
And Navi are already going to pressure the point and start that capture, and Fire Strays completely caught off guard, and to adapt it in a blink of an eye, I don't think even Virtus Pro can do that. Like, very good call from Rajaro on the Doctor Strange, but there will be a portal recontest from Fire Strays, who will be able to stop that full cap.
Yeah, unfortunately, Faye actually fumbled one of their Joyful Splashes, meaning they couldn't triple CC them back. Oh, Blackso's coming over on the Thor. Someone's going to make a fan out of me today. You know what? When you're going up against a Doctor Strange and a Captain America, it's not the worst thing in the world, but Blackso does overextend with not much healing behind them, and so that is an opening now gain for the side of Navi. Rajra going in with a fully charged up E, and of course does have the Invisible Woman team up behind them, throwing the shield for Sentinel Strikes from Trust Me, knows that it's time to make in towards the backline, while Binary will have to fight alone for the objective, and on his lonesome he can't do much.
Wow, Rajaro is fragging today on the Doctor Strange of all things. Pairs so well with the Invisible Woman. It's going to be the team up that you would want to play Doctor Strange with. Otherwise, it's a portal simulator. Navi, I think we're very happy for Fire Strays to recontest, because that means they got to build up towards some ults, which are going to be strong win conditions to go towards the end. Oh, you spot them toes of Binary on the Venom, so you just got to keep watch and have Terra peeled for if needed.
Sir, there are grippers on my radar.
Jarvis? I'm not going to say it, but Aya Agamotto, Apex Predator.
Yeah, they can fill that one in. Binary has already used their symbiotic resilience. Lots of damage going over onto Terra. The perfect pick to start off with, as Rajro brings up the Shield of a Seraphim to cover their own escape. And Navi know that without their solo duelist, this one's kind of unwinnable.
Sloppo is bringing out the Terra Phoenix with the Ultron. This was kind of the Terra Jerky duo from Museum of Contemplation, but wait a minute, Rajaro trying to go for a big play.
All Jerky needs to be heavily pocketed here, and indeed it's going to be the Guardian Shield of the Invis that makes that one work. The remainder of the team don't seem very afeared of this moment forward, though, and so just answer it with the ultimate coming through. Oh, so many stuns. Does grab them out of the Glatrox, mind you, which might not be ideal, but Rajra is going to be there to close anyway, as Closar is going to fall on down. The remainder of Firestray is going to have trouble getting out of this one, as Elsa's on the chase with full Hunter's Instinct.
Fire Strays are realizing they have to keep putting pressure on Navi so this Elsa doesn't just free fire. There's a lot of options to answer to the Eye of Agamotto, and man, it's tough to lock down people when it's Loki doppelgangers that you have to try and sift through, and Rajaro still was able to punish 2 strategists. He is having an incredible turnaround compared to Museum of Contemplation, and Navi are about to cap.
Oh, very close to getting that cap indeed. Had to be the last second touch coming through from Binary. Closes already down. That's a major source of healing now missing for Fire Strays. They're just going to be sipping at the healing that was given over by Znost with that Soul Resurgence. Binary's attempted disengagement could be stopped by the Force Physics. Regeneration Domain is once again brought out by Closer. A close respawns of Fire Strays are serving them well here, but they still need to remain on the cart at all times. 2 players quickly stand up by Sloppo. There's not really any follow-up to come on through. Terra's building up once again, taking out Sloppo almost to the Apex Predator. A quick eat here from Rajef to get the Vanguards off the cart is all that you might need, but it is going to be a full investigation, or like a full investment here from Damon with the Rage of Ultron. All the Vanguards grabbed on off, and they're easily cut on through by the Elsa. No wonder she's banned all the time. She just makes absolute mincemeat out of them.
Oh, that cap went through, and Closer thought it was still winnable, so you're not going to have that. I guess you stabilize if you really want to cope, but the Apex Predator from Terra to pull Fire Strays away from the LOS of their strategist was huge. Blackso also self-bubbled to save himself from the Apex Predator, making that only a 1-man Apex Predator, and Navi maybe didn't get full value of all these ultimates, but they still capped, and they're on a roll. 3.5 minutes for the final point, and Fire Strays used Closer's Strat ult. So this is going to be really tough. They're relying on Znost to build up towards that Soul Resurgence, and then is that going to be enough to stop Navi? They're looking incredible.
Sloppo needs an early pick here. They just need a mechanical outplay to try and buy a little bit of stability, and now you've got to worry about Trust Me in the back. The Paranoia cap. That's going to be constantly taxing your comms, taxing your information. Terra just bit off a little bit more than they could chew there. The double damage boost just carves on through the Huntress. And so Jerky's not going to have anywhere to really go. Disengagement not really on the cards for this Ultron. All they can do is stall out.
Yeah, this is such a difficult part of the map to push through. You're entering a fortress for the defenders, and Navi just wanted to keep pressing the W key. And at this point, you can kind of slow it down at this point of the map, but ton of ults now for Fire Strays. Strangling Prison. Blackso has been on it, and Navi have to try and defend against it. They got shields. They got ways to get around it.
All right, Rage of Ultron to open up here from Jerky in an attempt to try and answer it. Oh, a mid-air interception. I think the Terra might have actually leapt in the way of it there, putting their life on the line for the remainder of Navi. Synergy? Full Synergy. Bro is so committed to the team right now, but Navi have to be recommitting to an exit. They cannot make this one work down 2.
And the Strangling Prison and an Endsong Inferno only getting 1 elimination is not a ton of value from Fire Strays, but it did allow them to keep holding this corner, which is ideal, and build up towards Strat Ultimates. So for Fire Strays, it's about playing the long game. You still have 2 minutes you have to dwindle down.
All right, Rajaro wants an Eye of Agamotto. For now, just going to play it a little bit more slowly. He's not going to answer here with a Soul Resurgence. Extra speed for everybody on Fire Strays, and you can see that they are going after Navi with no mercy. Trust Me's Freedom Charge already has been expended. A great dodge on the Glass Rocks there coming on through, and the healing solid as well. They've dealt with the Apex Predator. Fate can't get inside of the invisible boundary. Was too quick to go underwater. Oh, what a stun from Rajaro, though. All 3 of the strategists, they thought they saw an opening, but Navi simply flipped their trap card, and the pot of greed has been well and truly expended.
Yeah, you just need to make sure that Znost didn't have the sleep, because there's no invisible woman to push Rajaro away. So he leapt into the action, and it made Navi's fight so easy. Now they head towards the end. A minute left, but Navi are going to pull the trigger first.
Soul Resurgence copied over from Znost by the God of Mischief and Rajaro. Good moves here, but Disengage is very strong. And Rajaro's still living. This is some excellent pocket, and Terra's going to try and punish for Chase.
Blackstone needs to be careful. You are a Groot, not a shield haver, and you kind of need to play around your fortress, but flanking Groot?
Okay, one player grabbed on in. Don't think there's going to be too much in the way of follow-up after that one. And Sloppo couldn't really find anything off the back of their Phoenix Ultimate either. And so Black Zone now just had to stand on business on the car. Both of these Vanguards don't want to move too far forward. It's going to be Jeff moving in towards the back. Snost and Damon are already down. Only the Loki remains for healing, but might well be inside of the fish. Black Zone plays for their life, just wiggling around like a little tree should. And the remainder of the Vanguard core of Fire Strays have been torn asunder. Yeah, the Apex Predator doesn't get too much, and Sloppo wins out on the duel, but it was just a distraction anyway, as Na'Vi win with 007 in the time bank.
Yeah, kids, don't write that down. Groot is not a flanking Vanguard, okay? It looked cool on paper, but it didn't turn the fight for Fire Strays. Maybe you're trying to cause some stress to split the focus in the Na'Vi camp, but they have been playing the front to back so well, and I think that's what Fire Strays needed to do. Just play behind the card, play for stall, and I think Blackson was trying to go for a Hail Mary play with a flanking, strangling Prison. Just the issue is that no one was able to follow it up. So yeah, you got targets in Prison, but they had a key, and Na'Vi broke out, and then you had kind of Fire Strays all destabilized. Even with respawn advantage, Na'Vi drove the truck straight through them. The cap on this map is fantastic. 7 seconds to whatever. It's the fact that you capped, and Fire Strays have to try and match that. And I thought Fire Strays were going to pull out some miracle, more conservative defense like they did on Museum of Contemplation, but I think Fire Strays tried to do too much, and sometimes you just have to play defense and not have to always make a big play.
I mean, I said that Rajra needs to keep having this Vanguard Deadpool banned away from him, but after seeing what Man achieved with the Eye of Agamotto, like, is Rajra bannable? Is the big question. This guy's having a standout game so far today, and might well have a standout year if Na'Vi continue to be a top-tier team.
All right, trust me, back on the Angela, something we got a glimpse of during this series, but also in the most recent matches, hoping to really push these Vanguards away. Not going to be able to interrupt the portal, so here comes... Okay, whoop.
Oh.
Fire Strays are now on the platform.
Yeah, a little bit gate capture away from that one. Damon has not gone too much off of the Feral Leaf. Ivor has already expended their passive. The healing factor is gone, and Fire Strays have lost their initiative. That was far less aggressive than we saw from Na'Vi.
I don't even know if everyone from Fire Strays went through the portal. Like, it was kind of disjointed from Fire Strays, but, you know, you gotta expect those portal plays just like they did on Burning T'Challa. Now it's Plan B, the binary Venom, the one I was hoping to see more of on Museum of Contemplation, even Burning T'Challa, but you gotta take advantage of all the space on this map compared to the Hulk that has shorter leaps, and Na'Vi are in control, and they have so much pushback having an invisible woman who can heal so many people at once, so Fire Strays need a committed and focused push against this.
Dude, Face is so difficult to deal with here. Just excellent angles to try and play with. Unlimited healing, essentially. It's just going to be an attempt to try and rebuff Binary's push off the back of a Force Physics from level 1 Crook. And now it's used for our escape tool to recommit to this fight, knowing that with everyone going down this corridor, you can build up towards that invisible boundary so quickly, as well as, of course, rescue, trust me, should things go a touch too far.
Yeah, playing stacked like this is going to be good for level 1 Crook, but here comes Fire Strays. You made them angry, and now they got straddled.
And indeed, there it is for Soul Resurgence, driving all the members of Fire Strays forward. They want to get on top of Fate, but for now, the kiting's good. Sloppo denied that frag, and Closar deep inside of Invisible Boundary is absolutely skinned alive by Na'Vi. Out comes Damon, trying to make something happen off the back of the Rage of Ultron, but I think that Na'Vi are far too well supplied to try and fall down to this one. Terra's just domineering in the neutral.
Half the time bank is gone for Fire Strays. The job gets easier when you get a tick going. Sometimes you can just cap it off of zoning without a decisive fight win, but you have to access someone like Terra, who has had fantastic spacing, trying to be as far away from the action, far away from a Venom as he can, and Fire Strays have triple strats to support the upcoming attack, and Na'Vi have triple strategists to protect Terra, so it's going to be an Eye of Agamotto play from Rajaro. He's been on point with this, and Fire Strays will just hopefully try to sleep it and try to back away from it. Not really much you can do to defend it in terms of utility.
Fire Strays need to see Sloppo get some neutral picks here if they're going to put this much value into their duelists. Actually, Sloppo falling low, having to use the End-Song Inferno just to try and rebuff some of this initial damage that was brought out here by Jerky. Now Fireshows of their double duelist could potentially find something in the bag of cellular corrosion. They want the Doctor Strange so badly, and yet Rajaro refuses to fall, clinging to life as everyone's caught by the Hell's Descent in the back. Heaven has been brought to earth by Trust Me, and Na'Vi are looking so strong on the defense.
Fire Strays are trying to go for these zoning fights where they just collect ticks and they kind of just chip away at this defense. No. And this stall is going to ruin things. Fire Strays only have 40 seconds and they never confirmed that second tick. This is disastrous and they invested so many ults. Emergency Psylocke is coming out. Demon is 40% away from the Galactic Legend. There's no clear win condition from Fire Strays. If they can't win a fight with ults, how are they going to do it without it? It's going to take a massive mistake from Na'Vi for them to give up this defense.
Like so, over onto the Thor, but the healing available from a Jeff and a Mantis is going to be a little bit substandard. Terra's already scouting out the approach here of Black So, just sticking close to this Doctor Strange, making sure there's constantly that Shield of a Seraphim available to stop any over-aggression coming their way. Jerky's already been taken down, though. Darren managed to catch them by surprise, and now level 1 Croak has to play a little bit more conservatively. Doesn't want to expose themselves to too much. Not ready to do too much. Binary's already going to use their Symbiotic Resilience and the Cellular Corrosion as well. How do you deal with this one? In towards the back of Stun onto Snost. Closar down as well. Fire Strays find themselves torn to pieces at the hands of Rajaro. The Finnish giant rises on up and kicks the puppy as Fire Strays tried to raise themselves from the kennel.
And there's a lot of bark from Na'Vi. A full hold. I can't believe it on their map choice. The work that they did to turn around their composition and execution from the time they encountered Heretics. That loss made them mad. And Terra, when he's mad, he plays even better. Your MVP on the Elsa. You should have never let this guy get the Elsa. Let's even look at the stats. 23 final hits.
Oh my goodness.
You were doing so much for Fire Strays to commit to trying to eliminate this guy. Binary was trying to do it solo. Fire Strays were just trying to get on the point and zone Na'Vi away from it. And it still was not enough to collect the second tick and to even get anything going for themselves. That was an unbelievable defense from Na'Vi.
Like, when I look at this scorecard here, this is kind of a Na'Vi that was promised, right? When we first heard that Terra might be trialing for Na'Vi, we're like, okay, we give them a real powerhouse duelist player. And this is one of those times where it did seem like Na'Vi were playing a bit more of that 100 Thieves style, for like, give everything to Terra, like Terra go win. And well, Terra did go win.
Rajaro also was a big win for this team. I was wondering how he was going to adapt when that Vanpool was banned out yet again. And I know he has a healthy hero pool, but I just wanted to see just how confident he looked on other picks. How confident is only one death on Doctor Strange with 25,000 damage, second most damage in the lobby. Rajaro was doing everything, 100 charge, getting in the middle of 6 people of Fire Strays and hitting a Maelstrom that would always be getting eliminations. He was hunting down strategists as a Doctor Strange. Rajaro was doing everything, including jump scaring Znost on the initial entry from Na'Vi. So they brought their own portal plans, and Na'Vi look amazing.
I'm thoroughly impressed. Like, Na'Vi, I don't know, I was trying to sell everyone that Fire Strays were going to make this one close, because I think that Fire Strays in their second week looked very strong, and they've also been able to level up again going into this week. However, it feels like they are constantly behind on their drafts. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of the Mantis first protect when you don't have access to the Elsa. But aside from that, like, Fire Strays, they're finding their openings, but Na'Vi, if you give Terra Elsa, what can you expect?
Yeah. Fire Strays look good on Museum of Contemplation and fell through, getting full held. Will this be Na'Vi going to the upper or continuing through the upper bracket, or do Fire Strays have something else up their sleeve? Their map pick is next, and you won't want to miss it.
Watch out, they're headed our way! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
NAVI are now hoping that we're back to our regularly scheduled programming with that 3-0 victory on Hall of Dajalia. What we probably should have seen from them necessarily against Heretics way back when, but they have clutched things up here, proven the differences was, hey, if we get Rosario some help and make it so he can lock things down on Strange with the Invis team up, might be enough there, Lemon, for them to get the victory.
Rajara on this Doctor Strange was incredible, from the portal plays to just getting aggressive. That's what we loved about Navi. It kind of replaced the N with the W. That's all they did, was just hold down the W key. Sometimes at their own demise, just trying to push into the defender's spawn at the third point. Like, Navi at some points need to let go of the W key. But that was what the big problem was. And I don't think you can just send just binary on the Venom from Fire Strays to deal with a protected Elsa of Terra. So you cannot be letting this team have the Elsa. I think Fire Strays would do a better job dealing with a level 1 Crook Gambit than a Terra Elsa.
That is the big question. Will we see the Elsa ban? Will we see the Gambit ban? I mean, that's like the 50-50 coin that you have that comes out. Sometimes you see both, depending on which side you're on, if they can't protect it in time. So I think the biggest issue here, leg day, was the prioritization that we saw on the Mantis, Loki, and Groot. Didn't work out as well as they were hoping to. Midtown, though, might be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, Midtown could be a bit of a different story. I feel like for now, Navi are in this position, like, it's a no-loss scenario to ban Elsa, right? Because, like, you leave Gambit open, but Fire Strays has shown an unwillingness to play Gambit, so you're always winning the first part of the ban phase. Because you might be going up against a Mantis, but you likely have Terra on Elsa, who doesn't really need the Mantis as much. Like, they were getting away with just the Ultron damage boost and the raw mechanics behind, like, Terra, like, Fate and Co. just laying down the damage.
Looking at this map specifically, Lemon, I mean, favor-wise, do you think that Fire Strays have it in them to force that map 5, or are we feeling like that now we're just going to kind of clean things up here?
And we've just never seen this map, I believe, Midtown, when it comes to this team. But I think it fits their style and their composition well. Like, Blackstone being so good at the Groot. This is a very strong Groot map in terms of just how narrow these streets can be and how you can section off the paths. And they also have been trying to run Demon on the Wolverine to not so great success on previous Hall of Dajalia. But I could see it on a smaller map like Midtown, that you can maybe grab some people and close them in with the Groot. And you have a strong neutral win condition. But I did feel like Demon really struggled to find his place on Hall of Dajalia, and it kind of was the Sloppo show, but it just can't be all about him, or at least it has to be triple strategist around Sloppo to make that work.
My biggest worry here is many teams have said, we saw from Rad into Vision, we saw a little bit of it in Midtown at the start, that this team in Fire Strays doesn't really have the best answer into triple Vanguard. And, well, if you get the Gambit and you triple Vanguard, we've seen that hold happen so many times on Midtown. It might happen here again. Could be a viewing into one of the possibilities from Doctor Strange. And maybe we'll see more Doctor Strange if it gets through the ban draft. But it's going to be Navi versus Fire Strays. Fire Strays looking to bounce back and force our first map 5 of the preseason playoffs. Can they do it? Time to find out.
All right, students, ban phase is in session. Let's see what we've learned from Hall of Shalia here. Are Fire Strays ready and willing to make the Gambit work?
And this is something Fire Strays have scrimmed and they have a plan for. We haven't, there's no tape on Navi on Midtown either, but you can kind of extrapolate based on other maps that are similar to it. Like if you want to say Central Park and how like narrow it can be at that point, but it's so much about the macro here. There's a very important high ground that you have to take. And some teams like Full Prio will send all 6 to that first high ground. Others will play the main and have people tackle them into their own team. So Fire Strays, I could see them really running a strong brawl here, and we'll see how the pick ban goes, but it's a one-sided Elsa.
Yeah, one-sided Elsa here is going to work out pretty well, in my opinion, for Fire Strays. As the Loki's taken off the table, no double Raging Royal Flush. They would love to play it themselves, but Navi know that they don't want not having access to any more of those sneaky copies of a Raging Royal Flush.
And Navi, they want one of two things, the Elsa or the Gambit, and you saw how important level 1 Crook was on Museum of Contemplation and just the team play around it, but also his solo playmaking ability. It was so hard to dive Crook even on Burning T'Challa. He dashes at the perfect time, provides a very important anti-heal, which is already an expensive utility to use for a Gambit, and it gave a strong neutral win condition for Navi, because you know how quickly they pounce on those anti-heals once they're thrown out. So I'm liking this so far from Navi.
Yep, the having that Vanguard Deadpool back for Rajaro once more means that he can continue to be that mid-range threat of poking that really butters things up for Trust Me to make a dive afterwards. And, well, it's going to be the damage boosted Elsa, which is a real contender for most dangerous thing in the lobby.
Hey, it's Slapo's turn to deliver in the biggest of ways and go back to their tried and true. Invest in him, and it will pay off. And now how do you kind of accompany that?
Nice.
Well, the Groot is free, and you have the Mantis for that team up as well, if Blackzo goes to that.
Okay, pivot here into the Luna final ban. I like it from Na'Vi. The real struggles happened when Fire Strays were able to play the Mantis alongside the White Fox and the Luna Snow, meaning that any attempted dives from Na'Vi were getting rebuffed super well with those Charm CCs.
Yeah, you don't want anything to stop your dive once you get it going. Fire Strays. See, it's the Vanguard line that I'm most interested in. It's very much brawl heavy in this first section, but we can focus on the defense because once they leave, they're pretty locked in. As a Thing player, I hate Thing. Because you really lack range and you lack huge playmaking abilities unless you get your ultimate online. You can farm those up, but you also allow the enemy team to farm up their ults off of you. But the best way to play Thing is being a corner holder. And just maybe being a chaos distributor. Running everybody down, popping them up like popcorn is a very fun way to set up your team for success. But is that really the best Brawl Vanguard that we've seen from Trust Me? Probably not.
Cosmic Fastball, ready to go. The question is, where is Binary going to throw Damon here? Wholehearted hold of the high ground doesn't seem to be on the cards here for Na'Vi as they quickly surrender it. And this is going to mean that Jerky could be a little bit easy to try and poke down for this pair of hit scans that are approaching high ground.
And to cope for Trust Me, maybe distributing that damage resist amongst the 3 Vanguards that Na'Vi are running once again will be enough. They ran that on Museum of Contemplation first point, and it doesn't matter. And Elsa's going to chunk through all of that.
That is a lot of walls, and Fate found that most of their Ice Arts claps were rebuffed by the greenery that was erected. Na'Vi, are they going to go for a quick recontest here? No, they're actually going to swap over onto the Angela instead.
Man, and you get to just set up on the Groot, and isolations are going to be key here. Blackso 40% away from the Strangling Prison, and Demon's going to maybe force them into a fight that they are not ready for. Watch out for if Demon wraps around this left room and forces somebody into the line of fire, but okay, Navi, we're not ready for that.
The perfect pick straight away. Level 1 Crook is down. Now Trust Me has to try and put their life on the line. On the point does not last for long when faced with this many weapons, and Damon may not have been able to connect with the Feral Leap. However, the damage has already been done. Fire Stray is looking very good here.
And Trust Me tried to fly in and do his impression of the Wolverine, but just got immediately spotted. Fire Strays had their eyes peeled. There's a lot of good counters to Angela here, too, when you have the sleep. And, of course, a Wolverine that can just counterpin you and kind of take you out of that flight. So Trust Me has to be very economical with how he uses the shield, and that way he's going to bail himself out. He's going to try and maybe take someone off this high ground. Good disengage from Binary. That got real close.
Yeah, the information came through that Trust Me was rapidly approaching his location. An attempt to turn this around with the Van Hammer here. I believe that was from Binary, but I'm not sure onto whom. Seems like it might well have been on the Gambit, but just hiding away in the bar for now. Navi are able to recenter themselves and heal up all of their injured members. Out comes the Strangling Prison. I'm not sure onto whom, but it seems like the follow-up's not going to be there because a great angle's been found by Navi. Blackso must have been completely shut down with that one.
A nice high ground take from Navi. I was worried about how much progression Fire Strays were getting absolutely for free, because when you run at Angela, you're kind of running a solo Vanguard a lot of the time when it comes to the objective. Like, Trust Me is trying to get a position where he can tackle somebody, so Rajaro's kind of by himself. So that's why Navi lacked so much cart presence, but then once they had that power position, they executed. So very good job from Navi to take the time for that to pay off. Now Fire Strays have to fight them for that position, and Blackso does deny that CC from the Angela with the wall.
Good Ironwood wall usage. Level 1 Crook already forced to disengage here due to Binary's accuracy, but needs to move their way out through the fire and the woods. Jerky was a little bit too low, though. Couldn't really get much in the way of help. Level 1 Crook falling low as well, and this means that now it's time for Fire Strays to begin chasing, but they can't go too far because Binary's fallen low in their own right. An attempt to try and charm. Terror above it all with the damage boost onto that Phoenix. They can't really find much in the way of final hits. Terror going to be chased down now by Sloppo, and the rescue can't come through. Fate was too far away, even with the fate of both worlds. It's not this Ice Ace on the other side. Big grabs. I think that's 2 Vanguards within, and soon everything is going to be over. A big crunch from the Glatrox, who has himself a nice lunch, and Jerky's going to try and follow in here as well. Letting the Devil out on top of the Heaven's Retribution. 2 of the strategists are down. All of the heals are gone. Only Jerky remains, and it seems like this dried meat is more than enough for you to try and chew through, as Binary just going to chase down the remainder of Navi. What a messy fight.
Yeah, what? So chaotic from Sloppo denying Terra to Jerky, giving a really good refight for Navi, but also that was expensive as hell for Navi. They have nothing left to defend this final point with, and maybe it's also, let's see if Trust Me has a good flank angle. You see Fire Strays are watching for this Angela at all times, and if Trust Me lacks impact, it could just be a straight up 6v5 for Fire Strays. They also have 2 old Strangling Prison available with no straddles to contest. So Fire Strays, though, have to go to the end, and they're still on Angela watch.
Blackso would love to go first here, claim the initiative. No one grabbed by the... Oh, that's a real stinker of a Strangling Prison right there. Blackso is going to be kicking himself for that one, trying to get max range. Instead, it's going to be Rajro trying to turn this one around. Already is debuffed the enemy. Elsa going in with all this Eagles. Slopper looking towards the back. Wants Terror, who tries to fly away, and Fate's going to have to flee into the ether as well. Trust Me, laid vulnerable. Jerky towards the back. A Righteous cross to carve through the Mantis. The Bug can't stand up to the Billy Clubs of Matt Murdoch. And while Rajro will be able to stand alone with his quick dashes, won't be able to keep this one sustained for long. A last chance saloon potentially, but no, Jerky can't contest from the back, and that's going to be the 3rd point opened.
Yeah, Fire Strays were very good at watching the flank angles, and as soon as they sensed that Angela was low, Fire Strays pedaled to the metal, and yeah, the Strangling Prison wasn't great. It did force out a lot of cooldowns, like the Rajaro bubble, and for Navi to just kind of back away from the momentum push from Fire Strays. You go into the final point now with 3 minutes. You got an Apex Predator, but it's Crook with the initiative, the Raging Royal Flush. When does that get pulled? You may not even need it if Binary's going to be overextended.
Oh, the damage boost onto Terror. Absolutely brutal to try and deal with. Jerky with a selfless swap away from a Daredevil and onto a Mantis, realizing we need to fight fire with even bigger fire.
Binary's trying to play the Vanpool like a Venom. Like, you gotta go in with the team. Like, Deadpool is a Vanguard that doesn't always have the best protections,
that's
and
so
you need
tight.
an umbrella against the storm of a Phoenix.
Oh, we all forgot our spacing, and suddenly the sparks are just chain reacting, and Fire strays a torn limb from limb. What is that? Fate's ultimate? Okay.
Must have been the wind.
Must have been the wind. Get a little bit silly with it.
Oh, Fire Strays, now they're starting to look panicked from the, wait, 1 or 0 man strangling prison to kind of a panic, it's Jeff, or Navi on Navi's side, but they're sitting pretty. Like, they're winning neutral fights just off of Terra picks. Like, Fire Strays need to not overextend. They need to communicate.
Dude, Terry's just standing here doing aim training. He's having the game of his life right now. And closer. Oh, no. Lost their ultimate as well. Oh, the Eternal Bonds at 0% for Fire Strays. This is absolutely devastating. Navi right now. Someone called Bully Hunters.
Nah, Terra's hitting his peak. I'm so glad he's on the Phoenix. Fire Strays, how do you break out a spawn when the defenders can watch you leave out the gates? And you can't even, like, engage with the Eternal Bond because Terra just double headshots you. That is incredible. Fire Strays are trying to find, instead of a way through, a way around, and Rajar's up to no good.
All right, debuff temporarily. The Banhammer laid down on Black So for now. An Apex Predator. Oh, they're so tight again. Their spacing is just continually punished by Terra. Fate only 29% of the way to the... Okay, does get one. Does get one. That's Terra. That's a good pickup for now, but still Fire Strays are not in control of the cart. They're getting in close and personal off the back of that Soul Resurgence. No one grabbed thus far by the Glartrox on the callback. It will grab a Vanguard, but it seems like a punishment's going to take a while. It's Rajro who finally gets taken down now, and the disengagement from Navi is far from clean. They invested multiple ultimates in that one, but didn't actually get anything. What a reversal of fortunes.
I don't mind Fire Strays doing the one-man strangling prison. Like, Terra was the win condition for Navi, and you also executed him before the Endsong Inferno came out, which could have bailed Terra out, just like he's been doing through Museum of Contemplation, but that sets momentum in Fire Strays' favor.
Living Bullet is everything. Coming up close to Terra now. This is the important 1 versus 1, and Rajra is here to make sure that it's not a fair fight. Everyone tries to make a play over to the high ground. Terra still has the Endsong Inferno up close and personal to level 1 Crook, who manages to get away using the Bayou Bash. And now you've got to look towards, trust me, in the back on the Angela. The shotgun's more than enough. Fate's in no man's land towards the back, but you can't spare the time to chase him right now because of your Fire Strays. You need to stay on the cart no matter what. A Living Bullet ready to go. Sloppo looking for some kind of entry here as Fate is ready to start things. A bad hammer over onto the members of Fire Strays, and Terra hangs above it, ready to strike down onto Terra Firma. No health bars go too low. Who does Fate have within them? Trying to split someone off of the map, but the punishment is already there. Level 1 Crook has fallen on down. Rajaro, inside of the Eternal Bond, is still doing the damage and bouncing for his life and the life of Navi. Deep into overtime. The Apex Predator's good. Moves towards the back. They want to get the Mantis. Slams them into the wall. Jerky's been made into a green paste where a Mantis used to be. And now Sloppo just manages to reign over it all. Finds their counterpart in Terra. Trust me is all that remains. Flies daintily about the point, but is he ready to sting like a bee as well? Inside of a strangling prison, once more Terra finds himself to be the #1 target of Black So. Despite the Raging Royal Flush, it seems like Navi's running out of steam. Their respawn times get longer and longer, and trust me, has ran out of faith from the remainder of the roster. Fire Strays finish.
A full cap on this map is unbelievable, from getting spawn camp to Fire Strays thriving in those moments. First, you got that first pick onto a strat, and Navi tried to defend Terra. That was a big win condition for them. I like that Rajaro bubble on the high ground to just help have any kind of footing in this map, but Fire Strays, they just full sent it, and it paid off. Sloppo stepping up big time and punishing Navi in those moments and kind of giving them a taste of their own medicine after Closer lost the ult, just trying to get out of spawn there for Fire Strays. I like that Fire Strays just stayed composed in a moment where you would start to give up when you're looking down at a series like this and you're getting spawn camped by one of the best teams here. Fire Strays managed to break out and kick Navi in the dirt, and even just the Apex Predator on the high ground was crazy from Sloppo, and you denied Fate from the It's Jeff from claiming too many people. Binary hunted that Jeff all the way down to the defender's spot. Like, Fire Strays, they didn't give up and they did not surrender.
I mean, like, it's such a bit of discipline as well to have denied that much from Fate's ultimate when you had to be on the cart for overtime. What a masterfully handled dodge from remainder of Fire Strays. And like you said, Binary was 100% committed to hunting down that Jeff afterwards.
Navi have to try to go towards all the way to the end of the map. Not an easy feat. And Fire Strays, there's a strong chance they force a game 5 here, but it starts with this defense. The first point, I think one of the most difficult parts of the map to get through. A lot of teams get full health here, and Navi, not with the triple strat this time, but with, not with the triple Vanguard, but with the triple strat this time, trying to pressure the high ground while Fire Strays create shelter around their Groot, and I think Navi are in control here.
Yeah, seems like Navi, they have the ability to go for these triple sieges onto high ground. They need to displace Sloppo. They can't allow Sloppo to just sit pretty up there and farm towards the Apex Predator, but great usage of the antis coming through from a level 1 Crook does mean that Blackso is constantly forced to give up this space.
And Rajar already farmed up towards the ultimate. You have Fire Strays on the back foot. Navi is pedal to the metal. You have Fire Strays sweating. It's time to prove it.
Banhammer sent on out. I think that one might well be over onto the Grit as Fate plays the off angle here with the orbs. Level 1 Crook, though, coming close to that Raging Royal Flush. 70% at the moment, having to just sit back and poke. Terra's not going to have much in the way of amplification for this ultimate. But Blackso's falling low, and Damon was overextended to try and get the healing over onto that Groot. And look at this, as Fire Strays disengaged, we haven't got any presence on cart. It's just rolling forward in record time.
Yeah, and Rajaro is leveling up in record time. We're getting the whole photo shoot over here once again on one of his best heroes, one of the first ultimates to come out. I mean, Fire Strays played split and thought they could converge and pinch Navi from all sides, but Navi just took advantage and pushed one side. And they weren't even fully aggressive. They just zoned Fire Strays. And speaking of zoning, oh my god, Fire Strays got caught off guard there.
Once again, their spacing is being turned against them by Terra. Speaking of which, Terra's falling low, can't quite afford to peek into this one. Fire Strays need to reclaim this space. This was a disastrous first point. What a snipe off the back of a strangling pigeon. Trust me, just weaves it through. This boy's got motion on the Groot.
Oh god, you're in prison all right. Not getting bailed out. Fire Strays, they need to react. They need to counter.
Okay, one inside. It's just going to be level 1 Croak. Groot focus fire coming through from Fire Strays to try and turn this one around. Akumi Ho unleashed up against the Soul Resurgence from Jerky. And Terra still has something in the back pocket if they need it. It's going to save their own life using the End Song Inferno, but can't make any direct impacts happen. And so it's a little bit less damage than you'd like. Fate decides to bring out their own Kumiho now as level 1 Crook is finally back into the fray. But Sloppo needs to be watched out for here. Has access to the Apex Predator against this many Groot walls. It can be a little bit difficult to get the value, but grabs two strategists. Fate level 1 Crook down. And now Sloppo feels the blood in the water and the sharks are circling. Ow.
And Blackso sets up that fight perfectly with the Groot walls. You were able to kind of push Terra out of this fight just based off of that. A lot less damage comes out of Navi, and Fire Strays throughout the Apex Predator and profit. That's all you need to do is sustain and retaliate. And I love that out of Fire Strays. Strangling Prison up next with not a strat ultimate to spare for Navi. And there's the initiative.
Oh, once again, an early go sign. This time, Blackso gets a little bit more value off it, but trust me, still had that Ironwood wall, and so the peel is good. Back to the drawing board. Navi just have one less ultimate to worry about.
Strangling Prison on the high ground. Okay, Navi kind of try to jump scare them.
Ironwood wall again? Oh my goodness, both these groups just got having a bit of a patty cake on the counter utility.
Binary's overextending again. He does get bailed out. Fire Strays are down to Clown, but I need to actually get back and heal back up. This is scary. Navi are pushing them down.
Momentary heal wall. Put on up with Vibrant Vitality. Terra doesn't know! Terra doesn't know! Oh, he didn't. He lacked for critical information. And now Fate needs to be given some attention in the back because for a second that Sloppo looks towards you, you are deeply in danger. But Damon cannot get inside of the ultimate that came through from the Cloak and Dagger, though the Eternal Bond had one less occupant than it otherwise would have liked. Fate has access to their own as well.
This is such a huge defense from Fire Strays, and they're not done yet. Apex Predator claims Rajaro. Navi are going to fight through with an Eternal Bond. Both strat ultimates now exchanged.
With the Apex Predator used, though, Terra hangs out above it. That's a huge purple, and so the vulnerability is acted upon. The backline falls apart, but Sloppo's in your backline as well. And Sloppo just there and manages to quickly get away while the Kumiho is being unleashed by Damon. Vulnerability applied onto it. 900 HP will not last for long. Sloppo discovered on the backline. Jerky with a quick crit to turn this one around. And this should be Navi able to make something happen apart from this one portal.
Using that portal as cover. Fire Strays have no ults and now no Vanguards. This is cooked.
Oh yeah, this one's cooked beyond belief, and Rajra is going to be able to level up even further off the back of all of these selfies available from the final hits too. Rajra just watching the desperate escapes from the portal. It has to be a reset here from Fire Strays. It's going to all come down to third.
It was so funny watching the sleeves from Znost, and you just had people coming, or from Jerky, I should say, as Fire Strays came in. They came and slept. So they just kind of were bodies, barely warm bodies at that point. And those are bodies that feed ult charge to Navi, who hope to go to the very end. They still have to fully cap this map, and they have less time than Fire Strays to do it. And it's going to take every ounce of effort out of Navi. And it starts with a good strangling prison, where there's been good counters from both sides.
Look at the grouping there. Once again, trust me, might be able to try and punish us one with an early strangling prison of their own. Terra Capes exchange, Binary already down inside of this corridor. It's a free flight for Terra. And well, the remainder of Fire Street just have to reset on the cart. They can't afford to lose any more free distance.
Like, Fire Strays are trying to play around Binary in these flank engages, seeing if you can just catch Navi lacking, because sometimes they don't react in time. And Fire Strays have had big wins on the second point off of these surprises, but Navi, they watched it all happen. A big Terror Cape came out from Fate. Now Navi have the Royal Flush to get a big time bank here.
All right, trying to play early. They've already found Binary. The Apex Predator might have something to deal with this one, but it's already been gunned down. Everyone just does so much damage. Rexo cannot stand up against all of the damage coming their way. A momentary caesura. But trust me, as they lay down the strangling prison onto one member of Fire Strays, and that is quite the time bank.
Yeah, you almost have a 2-minute advantage if you're Navi, and they made quick work of the first point, but the lesser time bank will be attacking first, so Fire Strays, again, have had really good macro. This was a team that really struggled at the start of the season, but put in so much work to try and contend against the best. I mean, not a lot of teams can say they've even taken a map off of Navi, let alone potentially go to a Game 5. So this is still winnable for Fire Strays. I mean, look what Shikigami did in their matchup when it came down to the extra rounds. So don't always look at the time banks and sign off from there. Fire Strays can go the distance. We'll have to see just if they're going to change the game plan from their first round of attacks.
I feel like this could have been an equal time blank if Fire Strays had played first better. Getting only one fight out of first point Midtown is not good. I think they just played too much to live. They were doing too many disengagements. I would love to see Fire Strays on their second defense actually commit to a couple more fights and maybe get 2 fights out of one of the easiest to hold points in the game.
Yeah, the defense of Fire Strays' defense is that they were split, but on the attack, it needs to be decisive, and they're starting to look towards Terra, and if you can get rid of him, you have a better chance of taking the fight. That is a huge part of the carry potential of Navi. Just the double Vanguards and Rajaro on the thing. Not expecting to see that in a double Vanguard setup, but with the triple strats, you're hoping to just farm up as much of the straddle charge as you can off of this thing.
Now level 1 Crook just put into these very messy positions by things like the raising of the walls. Rajaro manages to get through those rather quickly, but remember, is less vulnerable to the Wolverine than other Vanguards by being unmovable in so many of these cases. Sloppo just tries to take the 1v2 on the high ground, and Navi actually give it up in the 1 versus 2. They commit so much respect to that Elsa before Terra flies back up after being resupplied.
And Demon is getting marked, so he can't have as much value in flank with the Wolverine. Navi, this whole comp is designed around stalling, and it's working out perfectly.
Oh, Terra now has the angle, has the damage boost, goes up against Sloppo. Oh, a little bit of an alley-oop. Nice dodging coming through the other side, and here comes the end song, Inferno. And they burn away the chances of Fire Strays taking this one. Yeah, it's close, but who's going to be there to catch them? A quick sleep, but it's a nightmare that's given over to Fire Strays. The remainder can't make it to the point, and Navi have a very easy win condition before themselves.
Yeah, this was not the Shikigami level push that we thought was going to happen from Fire Strays with the single minute, but it was Navi being so, like, such an ironclad defense, playing around their ironwood walls, marking Demon on the flanks with the Wolverine being very predictable in that case, having Terra on the high ground pretty much untouchable, while Fire Strays were playing more of, okay, let's scale binary, get the Deadpool ult as fast as possible, and see if we can have early win conditions, but no high ground pressure meant that Terra was free-flowing. He was in that flow state, and he really has reached that point. You have 3 minutes for this attack. You only need to win one fight, and you're going to get several ult cycles out of those 3 minutes, and it's probably only going to take one, so best of luck to Fire Strays. Navi are looking to close it out.
This would be a monumental hold if it could happen.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if that's
You
going to be
also
the
just...
case.
You also just not even need the ultimates. You could just run a triple Vanguard if you're Navi. We've seen that before. If they just wanted to run Rajaro Thing down the lane and kind of force Fire Strays off the objective and out of the way. They could almost just win without eliminations if they really wanted to. That's how threatening Navi can be in these neutrals.
Yeah, like, honestly, I'm kind of gobsmacked by the fact that Terra's been, like, bringing it to Sloppo in, like, the damage-boosted duelist versus damage-boosted duelist as Phoenix versus Elsa. Jerky just going to roll on out here for maximum damage on the Moon Knight, knowing that it's going to be very difficult to stay on cart for most of Fire Strays here. Already a huge amount of damage brought out by the Terra Cape. The Vanguards are just suffering at the hands of all this, and Terra's just chilling in the back right now, waiting for an opening to come on through. Znost can't stand up to the multiple sparks that are sent their way, and Rajara just laying down a fist upon the competition. Jerky's got a hot date with an Arc to try and deal with, and well, as everyone just scatters to the 4 wins, it's easy for Jerky to try and find isolated targets to knock them off. Binary going to be the first to fall. Next up is going to be Znost. Out comes the Banhammer, but inside of the talons of Khonshu, there's no chance to contest. Navi take the series.
2, 3.
Big congratulations to Navi. They don't do it in a sweep, but they do it in commanding fashion there at the end. And good choice of the Moon Knight. Once you get the ult, there's no one contesting that. And when you're in one fight, basically zoning territory, that was huge. The respawn advantage is massive for the attackers as well. Terra with another MVP performance. And once this guy peaks, there's just no stopping. You have to throw the whole army at him to try and stop a guy like Terra. Almost 50,000 damage going into extra innings with 20 final hits. This guy is no joke. And the way he could play Elsa, Phoenix, Star-Lord, whatever that's demanded, he will deliver consistently. And that's what I want to see out of Navi.
Legitimately disgusting performance from Terra right there. Captain Canada has come through very strong, and honestly, Fire Strays, like, they had a very spirited series, but you could tell that, like, the length of it was starting to get to them a little bit. On Midtown, they had a very sloppy first point defense. They didn't run down the second lane, getting onto third either. They just kept going into the aimbot Terra down mid. I would have liked to have seen them get on that flank a little bit earlier to make sure they weren't feeding over quite so much charge and so many sparks.
And Demon was just off his game today. I know he was between strategist and duelist, but being marked on the Wolverine, that has to be an insta swap. And he has this particular style that can be predictable, and I think just the triple strategist has been what worked so well for Fire Strays, because Sloppo could rival talents of Terra with his own mechanics, and being on the one-sided Elsa was huge for Sloppo, but Fire Strays needed to fire on every single one of their cylinders to try and punch Navi in the gut, and it was competitive.
All right, let's welcome Vodable back in here to break down the series. That one was fun to watch, bud.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and it reminded everyone that Terra is still Thanos. We saw it happen. The 2 MVPs on the hit scan with the Phoenix. Yes, you might not give them the Elsa. It does not matter, because they still have all the accuracy to boot and are able to lock in. And that's what we saw, not just from Terra, but the entire team, it felt like. Trust me, at the start, especially when Fire Strays were pushing on attack, it felt kind of lost a little bit. Then locked in once we saw them move towards the group. Rajaro, of course, was just consistent throughout all of it. And then the back line, great work. Jerky, I would say, I love the adaptability that we've been seeing, right? Swapping into the triple strategist when needed, going into the Moon Knight towards the end here just to secure the victory 100%. This flexibility is what was missing, it felt like, Lemon, from Navi in the first couple of weeks, and now they've come to show this is what to expect from them from here on out.
Yeah, Jerky fills those shoes so well. Whatever is demanded of him, he will deliver. If it's the double duelist doesn't work out, pocket Terra. Like, he'll accept that and do whatever it takes to win, including even the triple Vanguard setup from Navi. They brought out so many different looks today to the point where it made us nervous that it's like, okay, how deep into the strat book are we going? Is this panic? Is this predetermined? And yeah, Museum of Contemplation didn't go their way. It was like a 4-minute defense from Fire Strays, so that was a tough one, but Navi, I mean, they pulled through. I like that when push came to shove, like, they stood up taller and stood up straighter instead of kind of crumbling under that pressure. And that was the big question going to playoffs for Navi.
Like, Day, I feel like if this was a best of 3, we could have seen Fire Strays come out with a victory. This seems to be more of the benefit for these teams who have the history together, have played throughout these kind of competitions, and show the experience of, okay, as the series progresses, we know what to target, ban, and protect wise. And what does Fire Strays need to do in the lower bracket now to take some of that experience that they got from this series into their next one?
I'd love to see continual protection of the Elsa. I think Sloppo does have the talent on that hero to make things work. Maybe not the generational talent that Terra is, but Terra's kind of like a once in a generation duelist talent. This guy, John Aim, to not overstate it. I think that Fire Strays, they're on the right path. I would love to see them clean up their calling when it comes to their defenses. Like, I got to keep harping on it. Giving up Midtown A in one fight is kind of unforgivably bad in terms of your defenses. You need to burn the time bank there, because if they had held it, even if they just lost 2 fights, like, they would have burned more ultimates. They wouldn't have given up second point high ground control as easily. And we would have seen a much tighter time bank for Navi as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I felt like Navi, they had their W key like bound down, taped down on Museum of Contemplation. I was worried about if that overaggression would ever bite them in the behind. And then Navi went to like a full stall comp into extra innings. So I think Navi are capable of slowing things down and were able to find that balance. And he spoke about Vaudable. What does Fire Strays have to do in the lower bracket? Well, they're facing the loser of Peps versus Virtus Pro. So I think they would rather face Peps in that moment. So they're going to be watching this next match very carefully to study up for their next match.
Speaking of like these next matches that are coming up, Virtus Pro likely if Peps don't get the upset on the other side of things. After kind of the shakiness from this leg day, how do they lock it even more so against the team you have to basically play perfect against?
I feel like Navi, they're just going to learn to trust each other. Like, the more that they can rebound from bad situations, the more the trust builds in this roster, right? Like, Terra's a little bit newer here, very, very vocal guy, used to being a leader, used to getting all the resources. And as Navi, like, start to see rewards get paid from that investment into Terra, which wasn't their previous style. They were never like a, we dump everything into one duelist style team. Like, when they see the rewards that they get for like accumulating some of that 100 Thieves kind of style into their overall more aggressive divey playbook, I think that Navi are they're going to go from strength to strength as they realize, oh yeah, this is why we picked up Terra.
Well, we'll be hearing from Terra in mere moments when we get this interview going as well. And actually, as I say that, the man of the hour is here, Mr. MVP himself, the Canadian assassin that we saw on the ropes here against this Fire Strays roster. Welcome in, Terra. Touted as the best duelist in North America, now moving across the pond to Europe. How is the new flat with Trust Me treating you so far?
It's been treating me really well. I just kind of don't go out. I'm like locked in the attic, I'd say.
You look like you've gone through it, but hey, it was successful in the end. Talk to me about Museum of Contemplation. I can't believe like the 4-minute defense from Fire Strays got to y'all. What happened there? Why didn't it work out?
I mean, we rolled them with 4 minutes, and then we stopped doing the same thing that rolled them with 4 minutes, and we changed the game plan when we don't want to just do that. So I mean, that's the only thing that we messed up on. People had like a different game plan when the game plan that we used for 4 minutes just got thrown out the window, I suppose.
On Midtown, you kind of dominated for lobby. On Phoenix, how did you manage to get so much done on Phoenix when faced with the Thanos tier Elsa?
I mean, like any character is just terrible compared to Phoenix. I mean Elsa, and like Elsa's getting gutted, so like it's just going to be more oppressive triple support, but you just kind of have to find a way to like not just get insta-killed by a one-shot combo with Elsa and with the triple support, because so playing against like non-damage boosted Elsa or even like a non-pocket Elsa is like doable, but like if they just have any resources for their Elsa, it just kind of becomes unplayable. You just have to like never peek the guy ever and never peek supports, just take outrageous off angles, I suppose.
My next question is going to be further down the bracket. So that's the first match. This was very exciting. We got to see you peak and get all these MVPs. But now you have to face like some of the teams in the other groups. If VP win against Peps, that'll be your next opponent. So what do you think about your match against VP potentially?
I mean, the VP match is going to be good. I mean, at the end of the day, we've both all taken maps off each other in scrims and all that stuff like that. They can say it, we can say it. It's just whoever shows up on match day and whoever wants it more. At the end of the day, we both know each other, like close as both people and different teams and all that stuff, and we all know what each result can go either way.
Talking about that and what we saw from the group stage now going into the playoffs, has the prep for you guys changed at all going into this stage of the competition, where it feels like as a team for the most part there's been more synergy than we saw in that group stage?
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, group stage is kind of like whatever half the time. Like, you don't lose anything or you don't gain anything as soon as you make playoffs. So, I mean, if you lose a match, it's like whatever. Not really an upset, but people can call it an upset, whatever. But if you qualify, you qualify. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. This is when everything really matters. So, yeah, I think everyone's taking it way more serious and everyone's bonding way more than like...
Well, speaking of that too, Tara, final question for you here. Any words that you have to the fans or the doubters out there? The floor is yours.
I mean, anything can happen in this meta. This is like one of the metas that like can just anything happen. It's just triple support stall and you have to play the game perfectly with alt cycles, so anyone can lose a map and it's just only gonna get not changed next patch. So I mean, it's gonna be the exact same thing of who can play the game more perfect.
Well, we hope to see some more perfect play because that's what we witnessed from you today. Thank you, Tara, for joining us. Enjoy your break and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm personally hoping that Trust Me, like, you know, takes Tara out for let's go have a team dinner, you know? Like, apparently we're not getting out of that attic very much.
Yeah, at least get him out of the attic.
We need a free-range Tara. Get that boy some vitamin D.
Bro's cooped up, has the high ground. He's trying to, you know, get the essence of the Phoenix just in like some sort of roost in the flat itself. I don't know. Either way, it seemed like the pressure is on for all these teams, right? He said it himself. You have to play perfect in this meta. So there's a lot to look forward to. But we do have one final series for EMEA. It's Virtus Pro, the world champions, facing off against Team Pep.